Supposed to say stand by on it.
Say your last name again. I'm going to bring you up.
Double E.
Thank you.
Was it supposed to say stand by?
Can you?
So I would be checking the car.
I mean, it looks like it should just be on.
I guess it's broken.
Say stand by. I didn't know.
I think it's on because Ally just asked, said the sound wasn't on. I said, you just turn on the sound. No.
Are we ready? Keith may be here.
I
He may
have
not.
Do we have copies of agendas? I'm sitting in a town.
To the meeting, please.
Well, I'm in the town, nobody's coming. Yeah. Where I'm at. I don't think anybody's coming. We'd be dead by the time we get there. We would be dead.
Just for the record, I have my agenda on my phone. I'm not texting or emailing anyone. I didn't print out the agenda and I
All right, we'll call this meeting of the Legislative Committee to order. At present, everyone's here except Heath. He may be here a little late. Julie, do you have an update on the hiring of personnel to operate the camera and streaming technology?
I don't. Was I supposed to? I thought you were going to get a hold of the guy. Was it I thought we had decided that the fellow from My Tech was not Dave, but his partner.
Right, Charles.
Uh-huh.
That is an option. He has offered to do that.
Oh, you mean with the school?
Yeah,
I dropped the ball on that and totally forgot to call them.
that's all right.
That's 100% my fault.
I think,
I just don't know. I mean, I would gladly find out about it. I don't think that's the best idea because we need to make sure that people can be here. And I'm not sure if that, like, do they have classes during the summer? Do they, on holidays, whatever, not that we would meet on a holiday, but.
I'm not a fan of using the school. I think we have enough board members with enough intelligence that we should be able to, I think each committee chair should be responsible for either knowing how to set it up themselves or if they're going to be absent,
or having someone to,
having someone to set it up for them.
the option also to hire someone at, I believe the rate quoted, if I remember correctly, was about $46 an
Yeah,
hour.
that's working just fine.
I found that to be,
Okay, so then, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm not tech savvy at all. So when there's a glitch and people have questions, for instance, with the last meeting where the comments disappeared or whatever, how do we answer that? I do understand now there's a difference between chatting during a live and commenting, apparently. So, but I can't give anyone an answer to those questions, and I'm not sure who to go to get answers other than My Tech. So if we have the glitches that we had during the last meeting where comments were disappearing, and I go to you and say, Jeremy, what happened? Are you going to be able to give me an answer? I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate that $45 an hour is going to cost the taxpayers, but if that's what we have to do to give them their answers when they ask questions, then that's what we have to do.
well, when there are glitches and technological malfunctions like that, MyTech is still the system administrator. We can still go there for answers to that kind of thing. The paying $46 an hour to run the camera was not for MyTech. That was for Charles on his own as a separate entity. That wasn't through MyTech. I just found it to be rather cost prohibitive.
I get it. I mean, I agree too. We want to save money where we can, but when we have an angry public, sometimes I guess we're going to have to spend money.
But that question may not be able to be answered in that very moment in time regardless. So the answer was received, it was shared with the public. And to pay $45, and how often does it happen? It's the rarity, not the norm.
You're right.
So to fork out $45 an hour for 2 to 4 hour meetings, to have somebody babysit a camera that might not even be aware that there's anything going on in the very moment that it's going on anyway, just seems like an absolute waste in my opinion.
So going forward, what do we want to do? Do we want to take this to the board saying the chairman of the party? I mean, are all chairmen willing to take this on?
Well, I think it's just their responsibility to either learn how to set it up or.
I think the answer to that is no.
The answer is no. I'm not.
Okay.
I think.
I mean, I wouldn't be either if I were, not because I'm being obstinate or whatever, it's just I don't understand technology well enough to give somebody the answer.
I think it's either I think it should be the chairman's responsibility to either, one, learn how to do it, it's not that difficult, or two, if they're not comfortable doing that, that's fine, I get it, some people aren't techie, I'm not. But have somebody on their committee that's then they're going to assign that responsibility to. I think between a 3 and 5 person committee and a 22-member board, somebody ought to be able to get the camera
Okay.
set up and ready to go.
Okay, so then is that what we're gonna present to the board as far as a plan, or are we just discussing it tonight?
I think, it could be put on the agenda for discussion so that everybody's aware of whose responsibility it is.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. It just popped into my mind. We do, the full board does elect a chairperson and a vice chairperson. It could even be that's an officer position, and they can designate a backup or select a backup in case they're unable to be there.
Okay. And I will just, for more information, I will make a note, and I will check it this time, to, you like Santa Claus? To try to get a hold of someone at the school, this may be the wrong time of year, but to see just if that's even a viable option. I don't know with the temperature of some of these meetings, if the school would want students involved in that, I don't know. I mean, we've had people from the public say that this is not necessarily the place for kids, so.
Okay. Anything else on that before we move down the list? Okay. Item 3 is about the release of minutes of sessions currently held closed. I sent those minutes to the state's attorney on the evening of our last meeting, which would have been June 4th. And I asked her for an update today. She said she hadn't taken a look yet. She could do that. So we'll continue to wait on her advice and opinion on that. So any discussion on that before we move on? Okay. Item 4 is to recommend to the full board to amend the credit card policy to include the probation department. I received an email from the clerk, which was a forward from the probation department head. The probation department head, I believe, had met with the treasurer and had been recently finding need of the use of the county credit card, and foresaw an upcoming increase in need and wanted to apply for a county credit card per the existing policy. And there is a long list of departments in that policy. However, probation was accidentally left off of that list. And there is language in that policy to say that departments that can apply for a card include those on that list, but are not limited to those on that list. So that language, I believe, allowed probation to go ahead and put in for a card, and I believe that process has already begun. So no one was slowed up by it, but I thought for a matter of housekeeping, we could amend the policy to include that. Is there a motion on the floor to do that, to make that amendment?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Yeah.
So then anytime a department decides that they may need, or is that what they'll do, amend the policy, or?
No, as a matter of fact, it's on the bottom of page 1, so it's right there at the front, and I will read that list. Department offices or departments including but not limited to animal control, clerk, circuit clerk, coroner, collector, EMA, health, highway, supervisor of assessments, treasurer, sheriff, state's attorney, and zoning. So the list is rather extensive. It's just, it was an accident that the probation department was not included. And so this would just be to include that department now.
Okay.
So that needs to be put on the next board agenda.
Yeah, we're just making
And
a
then-
recommendation to include that one probation. And was there also something about the circuit judge's office?
She checked out and used the county-wide. I just didn't know if while you're amending, you know, the resident circuit judge could have their own or use the county-wide card.
Okay.
You made the motion, right, Julie? You made the motion to amend?
And I second.
And you seconded it.
So, okay, just for OMA purposes, I made the agenda item pretty specific. It only says probation. It doesn't include anything else. If we want to, I will put on the agenda to include the circuit judge, circuit court judge. Unless someone sees a problem with that, I will include that with our probation item.
You mean for the meeting next week?
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody see any issue with that? Any further discussion on including probation? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Let's come back to number 5. I did, let's move to number 6. I did reach out to the board chairman and the circuit judge and the treasurer and the clerk and the state's attorney and the circuit clerk. That might exhaust the list about any funds that go through the state's attorney's office. And that is that is in regard to conducting an audit, a regular audit, not a forensic audit, just a basic audit of the office due to the recent vacancy. I received feedback from, I believe, everybody, and no one stated that there were any funds managed by the office. However, I was asked to include the opinion that all funds in the budget at the discretion of the elected official are public funds. And there may have been examples. One comment was all of the line items in the state's attorney budget are public funds. The chairman did say it protects the incoming office holder, kind of gives them a starting point, knows where their office was at when they began.
I think we've had this discussion. Didn't we have this discussion before? And it was kind of deemed that since the state's attorney doesn't manage any funds, we're not out of line statutorily by not having an audit in that?
I believe all the funds are either submitted as claims and go through the clerk's office or the treasurer's office. And that would include things like payroll.
I mean, whatever the majority wants to do, I'm fine. Have an audit, don't have an audit. You know, whatever. My concern is who's going to do the audit? because I'm not gonna recommend the current auditor that we have.
What we would probably do, this agenda item is a little more open. We could recommend that the board send out requests for proposals.
Here's my concern with the request for proposal, is if an auditor comes back and says, there's nothing to audit, they had no funds, they had no ins and outs, why pay or put out for a proposal to anybody to tell you, why pay for somebody to tell you you have no, there is no audit to be done?
I agree.
When we can't just approach our current auditor with that question.
Well, here's the problem with the current auditor. And we've asked for sheriff's department audits. I believe, did we ask for,
We asked for state's attorney
when Nicole left,
and dive team.
dive team?
I think those are the two, and the 22 audit.
And have got nothing.
No, that's not
When
their
did you
fault.
ask for an
No,
audit?
I'm not trying to, I'm not in the position to blame anybody for anything. I'm just pointing out the facts. If we need to stop going somewhere where we're not getting any results at this time, let's maybe try to spread it out and maybe get a result.
That's a matter of opinion.
You're right.
The results are
You're
not
right.
the fault of the auditor, and I will not sit here and
But I'm not.
take any stance that says that it's their fault. Weston Company did not audit 5 of the largest funds,
No, Whitley.
Whitley, did
Whitfly.
not, 5 of the largest funds. They didn't audit the general fund, they didn't audit the health department, they didn't audit 3 others.
Social IRF.
So now, this firm is having to try to work with audits from the past that were not done correctly.
Right.
And they've had to go all over God's creation to even try to accumulate the information that's necessary to perform an audit, when that is our job as a county.
And I'm not trying to pile on to the narrative that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. I'm just saying, I feel like if this even gets to the point of an audit, rather than adding more to it, it's not going to cost us more or less to use a different
They
auditor for
they
this.
have the information now, so if we even just contacted them and said,
Mhm.
statute says you perform an audit on an office when there's a change in leadership,
I get it.
right? They may come back and say, we have them for, there's nothing, it could be just a simple question to them of, is there anything within that department to audit?
So why don't we have the sheriff's department's audits? Because we had a forensic audit done in 2020. So everything should be,
Is there an outstanding sheriff?
That never
I
went
thought
before the
that,
full board.
did we get audits back from
No,
between? No.
never went to
Dawn
the
and
full board and
Steve?
it was never presented to Benford. They're in the process of a forensic audit of the dive team.
That's the only.
So
thing
that's on
audit that's
us
been
then, not
requested.
them, that we don't have the sheriff's department audits.
Yes, exactly right. That was on the previous board. It was never requested.
I feel like we've talked about that
That's
1,000
what we're
times.
doing, I think.
Why was nothing done?
Well,
And
I
nothing
mean,
was
that-
done
that
about the
includes
forensic
me
audit
too. I'm
because
not
the
putting
in-out
money,
logs- Because the forensic auditor was told the in-out logs were destroyed. So it was gonna be next to impossible to try to go back and figure out who might have been owed and who might have owed.
so what we got was incomplete.
What we got was incomplete, but, again, the person that basically lied and said that the in-out logs had been destroyed, they weren't destroyed. And when that was found out, we need to go back to amend that forensic
Would
audit.
these audits that we're talking about even include that? Or is this just an audit of the funds?
This is just an audit of the funds. This is not a
Yeah.
forensic audit, it's just an audit of the funds. And again, a simple email to the current auditor, based on the information that they have for the 22 audit, they may be able to simply say there are no funds to audit.
Okay.
Well, so is our decision here at the committee level
Trying to decide if we want to have an audit of the state's attorney or not, or are we just saying, let's take it to the full board?
I think statutorily we need to have one, but having one may simply be asking the auditor
To provide us with the documentation.
to provide us with, even if
Maybe
they
just
say there
ask
are no funds to audit, and then we've done our job, requested an audit, and if there's nothing to audit, there's nothing to audit. But I think the request needs to be made with the auditor as to whether or not,
Okay. Okay.
because I don't think we did that when Cronky left and Hanley came in, did we?
We did ask Benford to do that audit,
Okay.
yeah.
I was gonna say, I know at one point we voted to have this auditor or this company do just a simple transitional audit.
Yeah.
And
that-
so was it at that department?
It was, and that was a slightly different matter because there was an active public fund credit card in the office at that time, whereas there has not been more recently. So there were managed funds there to audit now. It doesn't appear that there are.
Well, we've talked ourselves into another circle, so what are we
I
gonna
just think
do?
we need to take it, in my opinion, we need to take it to the board
Okay,
to vote to request from Benford and Brown an opinion on whether there's anything there to even be audited.
Do you want to put that in a motion?
can we stipulate that they have X amount of days to provide the information? I mean,
We
if,
can-
listen, this is a chance for them to kind of redeem in that they can, if we say, hey, we have 45 days to provide this information. I don't feel like that's an unreasonable ask.
Since the
But I don't
primary,
know.
since
At
the
least tell us
primary,
what they've got. At
yeah,
least tell us what they've got.
since
What do you
the-
have?
since the primary question is whether or not there are any funds managed by that department head during that time, that's a simple yes or no. Is there anything to audit? I would think that could be a quick answer.
It should be.
Use a different auditor.
I'm going to make the motion that we take it to the full board to request of Benford and Brown an opinion on whether there are any funds in that department that are even auditable. And if they say no, it's done, it's over.
I will second that. Do you want to put some kind of time frame on that?
A response to an email? Sure. Whatever. Time frame you want.
Well, Julie mentioned 45 days. I think it'll be shorter than that, but I'm fine with 45.
And then who requests that? Like which,
I assume the
That
chairman.
would be the board chairman.
okay.
Are you caught up?
Not yet.
Okay. Let me know when.
Did you second?
Yeah. Do we need to amend the motion to include the 45 days, or?
Sure, I'll amend the motion to include 45-day timeline for Benford Brown.
All right, I will second the motion to amend. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend to include the 45 days? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion to amend carries. We'll return to the original motion. Let me know when you're caught up. Okay. Back to discussion on the original amended motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's, you guys want to do 5 or 7 first? 7's just a discussion.
And go in order, I think.
No, you don't have to go in
It doesn't matter. Let's do 5, let's get back.
I do have to go.
Let's do 5, recommendation to full board to clear timekeeping policy.
I'm going to make the recommendation to send it back to the full board again because voted and passed to send to the full board before, so I will make the motion that we send the timekeeping policy as previously approved to the full board for approval.
Are we just, can we make, are we discuss, in the discussion part? or-
I'll second so we can get into discussion. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay. My ongoing concern is, each time we discuss this, nothing changes from one month to the other. And I don't necessarily think the policy needs to change. I'm not opposing the policy. I'm opposing compliance with the policy. And maybe because I come from a world of policies and procedures, if the policy is not followed, how do we enforce it? What's the repercussions of not following the policy? That's my question. I am not going to vote to pass a policy that, one, I know people are not going to be compliant with, and then how do we address the compliance, the non-compliance? And I don't mean that they're being non-compliant because they're being obstinate or they don't agree with the policy or whatever. If they cannot physically do it, they're not going to be compliant. What is the repercussion then of them not following the policy?
So first of all, let's broaden that to include any policy. What if the credit card policy isn't being followed? What are we going to do as a board?
If there's fraud on the credit card policy, then it's legal action is taken against the person who committed the fraud.
So we've got two department heads here. Is your office in compliance with the credit card policy?
Yeah.
Is your office in compliance? I'm sorry, we got three because I forgot Scott. Is your office in compliance with the credit card policy, Brian?
We have our own credit cards.
They are not in compliance with the policy.
Okay. So if we're going to have this issue going forward with timekeeping, do we already have it with other policies now?
Then what's the point of having a policy? If you don't enforce the policy, what is the point of having a policy?
There are efforts to enforce policies. There are efforts to enforce
And what
the
does
compliance with the policies.
that
It takes people cooperating.
look like when there is a lack of
I think the
cooperation?
better question is, what do they need? What is the main need for them to get this timekeeping done? What are they lacking? That's what we need to know. If it's training, one of the things I did 25 years plus in the state working for corrections was in software. I was a database analyst, and whenever we brought out new software with people, we always brought in a vendor and trained them. If we need to bring in a vendor and train them, then that's what we need to do.
We did that in November.
And did they certify the people that were getting the training? Because that's what we also did. It's not just a matter you attended the class.
So one thing I will add on the training, and I think the whole board got this email from Debbie Thompson, the HR person, counselor, consultant, thank you, the HR consultant with CERNA. One thing, I think it was her second bullet point in that email says, refresh training for the system for those department heads and employees who are not utilizing the timekeeping system or not utilizing it consistently or accurately. Utilize other departments' success as a model. Now, I have tried to foster that kind of environment a couple different ways, a couple different times. For example, out at the highway department, it's my understanding they're having no issue at all whatsoever. I asked Michael if he would be willing to pitch in and help out and offer whatever's working for them, offer that up to the other departments in the county to see if something can be gleaned from such a conversation. Now, there are some differences. I think the sheriff is having some problems with some overtime and holiday pay and comp time and things like that. The highway department doesn't have nearly as much of that as the sheriff's department does. And it's those things that seem to be, that Brian seems to be struggling with.
Do they have multiple different shifts? Do they have 12-hour and then 8-hour? And
And
Well-
they have shift differentials and they have.
Yeah, see, that's what corrections, that was a nightmare corrections when we switched, because we had the same deal.
Yeah, so, but I have told Brian out at the highway department, you know, when they have to get out and plow snow off the county highways, snowstorms don't plan themselves around holidays or overnight or weekends. So the highway department is gonna have some of those things. some
But
of
it's
the
gonna be a
time.
rarity, it is gonna be
It's-
every week.
Right, for Brian, it's gonna be the norm, for them, it's gonna be the
Yeah.
except. But out at the highway department, they have to know how to handle that when it does come up. And so they've either done that over the winter, because we started this in the fall, or they go to the payroll office, the treasurer's office, and they get help on how to do stuff on their end, so they get it right when they send it to her. So it shouldn't exactly be night and day different. They should have something to offer, because it's working just fine out there.
How many employees do the actual payroll for them? For logging of their timekeeping?
For the sheriff's department?
Yes.
Approximately 30.
Okay. They got 30 people clocking in and out.
No, but how many people actually are doing the time,
Processing.
processing the time?
Yeah. How many people do you have doing pay? 3? Yourself and 2 others?
Correct.
Okay. And one of those is one of those corrections, and one of those is dispatch?
Correct.
And you would make 3. So then you don't have any administrative assistant in the office who's doing that for you? Okay.
So Brian, do you think it would be beneficial to you if there was a rep from the software company that came and sat with you as you are doing
They aren't
payroll?
gonna do that. They don't do that. They're
But that's
not
kind of
gonna
what
do
she
that.
said in her email. I mean, they can say they won't do it, but we have to ask them to do it. And I have to wonder if we're paying them money for their service, their software, why are they not willing?
We
Because
paid
if not,
them,
I
and
will
they
tell you
came
right
in.
now, that software will not last.
Yeah, but almost
We
every,
paid for training, we did 3 sessions, it's video, the video was sent to department heads. We've said all you have to do is call, and their department heads that call our office on a regular basis if something wonky comes up, and we can walk them through getting that time in.
I
And
just can't imagine that a service that we pay for would deny us an additional training if we asked them.
well,
They
again,
did the training for
paid for the
video,
training.
so somebody can go back out and review that video as many times as they.
I think what
need.
Julie's going at is, you got a difference between more of a boxed software basis, a software company. Like if you hire IBM or somebody to come in and do stuff, that's different than buying a box company software that's gonna be cheaper. You get what you pay for type deal.
And we also have to look at the learning curve of our employees. I know for one, if you make me watch a video, I'm not gonna retain near as much as if I have someone sitting next to me that I can say, hey, this is my problem, this is what I can't get to work. How do I make that work?
Well, the system is designed to basically pull it all in.
I
The
get
employee
it.
clocks in and they clock out. The system divides out for the shift differential and whatnot. The employee has to decide and let Brian know if they want holiday worked or comped, and that has to be entered by the department head. It's a double entry for the same time. The employees, and I've sent you the documentation, the employees are clearly getting on their dashboard and they are requesting time off, which then takes a management position, whoever, to simply click on a check mark that approves that time and then immediately puts it in the timekeeping system as sick, personal, vacation. Now, if so-and-so, goes home at noon because they're sick, then one of those 3 managers has to go in and add the additional time, whether it's however many hours to get to their shift, as a sick time. But that system is open from the day 1 of that pay period to the end of that pay period until Monday at noon of that pay period.
So I've
And-
asked Brian if he thought it would be helpful to have an individual with him. He says yes. I feel like it's my responsibility now, or maybe the board,
I've said I'll go
To
over and
do-
sit with him.
to do whatever we can to try to make that
That's
happen.
been trained, it's trained other departments that are running very smoothly.
Kelsey went over and sat with him. Annette went over for 2 payrolls in a row and went over it with him. Cody went over it with him. I mean, there has been, and you can pick up a phone and call and either walk them through it, or if something needs deleted, then our office deletes a time entry. But time has to be spent no matter what. Management has to spend some amount of time in the TCP program throughout the pay period. Employees should be checking their time. Employees are clearly going in to their dashboard and they're requesting time off. Because there's a list about this long of Sheriff Department employees who've requested time off. That's shot, it shoots an email over to the management and it shows up on a dashboard. So they clearly are going in and seeing their time. There are some employees in that department who are approving every single time entry that they have.
Yeah,
And then
it's not like
management's
you
approving.
said-
And then you have some employees that don't check a thing. But those same employees that don't check anything are requesting time off through the system. That doesn't make sense to me. An employee looks, and if they clocked in at 5:57 a.m. and they clocked out at 6:03, p.m., you check mark, click, and it's done. Yep, that's when I worked. I came in and employees can go into that dashboard on a computer over there, on a computer at home. They have access to that anywhere. But it's just a matter of every couple days going in and hitting a check mark.
So one thing to,
We made it up.
one thing on the training I will say is, perhaps that having done this for whatever, 8 or 9 months or however long,
Just came in.
perhaps there are more specific questions that people might want to ask, whereas in the original initial training, perhaps they hadn't used the system before and didn't think, well, I need to ask this question. But now they've done it for a while, they're like, I need to ask about
You
this.
can't compare departments. There's gonna be differences in each.
There's been offer after offer after offer after offer from the treasurer to go over and sit down with those people and do it. So that meeting needs to be had.
That needs to be done.
It has to be
It can't
done.
happen on a Monday morning of payroll, though.
And I did.
Oh, you mean as they're, because you're gonna.
You don't wait till
have
the 2
to-
weeks over and then have 30 employees that you need to go
process
through.
payroll in one day?
We do the majority of it one day. Our shifts,
Could you
the
go
midnight
up to the
shifts
very-
don't get over until
Sure.
Sunday before the payroll day.
Right, you're not Monday through Friday, so you
Yeah.
have to.
But everything can be approved before. I mean, when I come in on a Monday morning of payroll, the only time entry that I have to approve for my employees is their Friday checkout. Because I've already gone in and I've approved every time up until then. Monday morning, it's clock out on Friday, I've got to approve that time. They have to approve that time and that's it. They have access to this dashboard throughout the 14 days of payroll. We had an issue a few payrolls ago where we had a holiday on a Monday. And, whether those employees want it comped, not comped, worked, whatever, worked, not worked, on a Monday. And 2 weeks later, trying to process that payroll, where we need to pull that at noon, nothing's done and stuff needs edited for 2 weeks ago. Well, that's where as management, if we spend 10 minutes a day, granted, I have 2 employees, it takes me 60 seconds, if that. But I will say, in that department, the corrections officers are all approved, which there's management and there's other. The 2 administrative people that have been given authority to do that are under the O, which is other. And the employees that they are overseeing are approved. The dispatchers are approved. Corrections officers are approved. There are some deputies who've gone in and approved all of their time. Some deputies that don't touch it. But if I'm an employee and I'm not looking at my login, log out and saying, yep, that's when I worked, and I'm waiting till Monday morning, or I got off at midnight or 6 a.m. and I'm home in bed and someone's trying to call me to figure out what the last 2 weeks was, why did I not look at it? And if there was a problem on the first Tuesday of payroll, and I didn't contact my management, whether it was the 2 that have been approved or the sheriff, to say, hey, there's a problem, so that could get fixed, why are we waiting for every problem to get fixed on Monday, and then we can't pull payroll? I had to pay my employee overtime on Juneteenth to come in on a holiday to process payroll. Because we can't get it done, and it should be done. The whole purpose of electronic timekeeping was to stop all the manual entry, which is open to loads of human error. and time. And we're spending more time now on payroll because we're getting what we pull from the system, and I've sent you documents, 3 and 4 sheets, where we pull from the time, we have a paper time sheet, and we have none of the 3 of those match. And then it's up to my office to decipher what's right. Or send 15 emails of what system's supposed to be, what's that one. We don't have that kind of time. We have to have the file to the bank Wednesday afternoon so that these employees can have their paycheck that's going to hit their paycheck, their accounts at midnight on Friday. The paper checks are picked up in the clerk's office by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on Thursday. And when everybody's pushing this back so that we can't pull that time, or they're trying to make corrections at the 11th hour, that's not on my office.
Right.
And so to say that these employees didn't have their time, where was it? It wasn't there. That's not on us. And I will tell you, that's treasurers and statewide, the treasurers that do payroll, and there was conversation just not too long ago, and the treasurer said, nope, if you're going to give me payroll, then you're going to abide by this policy. You don't get it right, you don't get it to this office, and we have to create a payroll. It's on the department head. It's not on the treasurer's office.
I get that,
Training for crying out
but
loud.
I still think we can't say it's on you, department head, and
Refusing
that's
training.
it.
There's an offer for training,
I
it's
get
been
it.
there, and
I
it's
get
been
it,
there,
and
and it's been there.
we know why that's not happening.
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
You're
It does.
rewarding poor behavior by saying, we're gonna bring somebody else into training because somebody doesn't like somebody. We all need to put our big kid pants on and do what we need to do for what's right for the county, for the employees, for the department heads. There's an offer for
But I
help.
feel like that's
Brian
what
needs
I'm
to have
trying to do
Erica
right
go
now.
over and help. Brian, is there any reason you will not have Erica come over to your department and help?
I am willing to have it.
Okay, so you'll get with her tomorrow and pick a date and a time, come over and you guys can get some training taken care of?
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go.
And walk
But
through.
my big
some
concern
differences there.
is a couple-fold. You know, the policy doesn't address if the time clock is down. And what I just showed
Right.
Julie is the time clock is down right now, and they can't clock
And
out.
sometimes that time clock stores that, and then sometimes, they may have to track, and then, that's just a part of our world. The internet goes down. There's times I can't process checks to take in payments because it's down.
And
But
I-
you have time to go in and change that, and when the time clock was down at the end of a payroll, we gave 24 hours for department heads to go in and enter that. It wasn't down the whole payroll, the whole pay period. It was down Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we acknowledged that. And then we allowed for 24 more hours for department heads to go back in and enter the times that the clock was down. I mean, that's just the world we live in. The
Well,
internet's
it
going
was
to go
down
down.
Thursday through Monday.
It was Friday.
Now you got a question I can
That's
answer.
not the experience my employees had. They could not log in on Thursday.
If you
Why
got,
was it down?
is this an
The
internet outage?
internet was down in Greeley, Colorado.
Is this the internet for your provider?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Our provider internet wasn't down.
Not the county, the CIC
software.
in Greeley, Colorado.
There-
All of Greeley, Colorado was down for whatever reason.
And that's the only feed into there. There's no other feed that can access. So you're basically using
they
a
don't have,
web-based
like,
client.
That's where that system,
Right.
that's where everything goes out of
Thing it goes
Greeley,
over to.
Colorado.
Somebody's.
So basically, the web-based server's down.
Yeah.
I mean, and she's,
Somebody that's respectful to them
she's-
can train them.
she's right.
Possibly some
It
nasty
is,
vile.
He's got the floor.
it
I'm
is,
talking to you guys, I'm talking to Teresa.
it is 2024. We are going to have technological things that go wrong, and hopefully those are minimized. But I mean that's with technology. So
Once in 6 months, 7 months.
what's that?
I said it's happened once in 7 months. And what I was told was a
Well,
fiber optic line was cut in Greeley, Colorado.
Can't do anything about that.
And, I
Probably an
mean,
accident.
yeah,
But it's not, something that happens very rarely like that is not an excuse to not utilize electronic timekeeping.
Oh, I agree.
So, I think we have an agreement that Brian's gonna reach out to Erica tomorrow, they're gonna come up with some times. get the training done, and we should be good to go, right?
Yeah, now, here's the thing, if it's happened in the past, we have to plan for it to happen in the future. And when it happens, what is the process so that we can get my employees paid correctly? Because I still have employees from that payroll, which is now, including this one, 3 payrolls ago, that are not made whole yet.
That's not true.
That is true, I have it right here.
That is not true.
Well, and,
Okay,
I mean, I'd be fine to read it to you and show you the TCP
Right.
documentation.
Come on, Derek, that's the sheriff.
That's the
You
sheriff.
guys work it out tomorrow. If you're gonna
Let
get
him
together, work through it. And then there can be a solution for what happens the next time it comes up. But it's not an excuse to not utilize electronic time clock.
Don't listen to him.
I've
I'm
been
not talking to you,
using,
sir.
Phil,
order in the meeting. Mr. Sheriff Hyden, let's save this payroll's right, this payroll's not right discussion for a meeting that's not an open public meeting.
I agree.
That's a detail, and it's an important detail, because people need to be paid right and on time.
Absolutely.
But let's save that.
He's trying.
Let's save that for a non-public meeting, maybe when you two get together to do some training. And I'm gonna offer myself up to be there if y'all want to meet. Okay? So
And then
if
Brian,
that
if that,
helps.
if you still like, even after that, you need more, then reach out and we will get you more. There's no way that a software company that we pay thousands of dollars to would tell us no, should tell us no.
Can you reach out to him and ask him that?
No.
Well, I can't, I'm gonna go with this plan, and if this plan doesn't work, then Brian can get a hold of me and we'll go from
and I
there.
mentioned to Jeremy today, I'd like to compare apples to apples. Are there any Illinois sheriffs, there's 109 counties, any other counties that are using the Time Clock Plus? So I can talk to them, figure out what their workflow is and
Because
what
we
their
don't
experience
don't wanna go back to paper timekeeping. I mean, we have 750,000 reasons why that was a bad idea. And not faulting anyone, it's just, we're in 2024, we can make it easier. And so, I think that we need to do whatever we can to get this process going. So if that meeting, you still feel like you have questions, let me know, and I'll try to figure out who,
I mean, I'm sure we have to have a contact person, right?
and then we'll go from there. We've got to get it worked out, we have to get it worked out.
I agree with that, and I'm gonna run through, I intended to run through Debbie's email, and I would like to do so here, but I've made some notes on some, work solutions that we might have for some of these. I read point 2, all back up to point 1, assure all timekeeping systems are installed in every department and utilized consistently. Is that being done? Where is that not being done?
Well, there's no time clock at the health department.
And there's a grievance filed, and there's no sense for us to fight that out.
The auditors have said that they need up and that the timekeeping policy needs to be enforced, and Debbie has said that.
Until that grievance is resolved, why are you saying?
Why do you have to wait for the grievance to be resolved?
Because it's silly to fight
What
about.
progress is being done on that
It's
grievance?
I sent an email to Ruth, I have yet to hear back of what the status of that is. But, I mean, just for this, I don't understand why we are,
Because we are
a
putting the
management
county at risk.
option.
Every single payroll, Julie, that is processed, that is being processed, let me finish this, being processed off of schedules and not actual time to work, are inaccurate payroll processing. We are putting the county at risk. When the time sheets come into the treasurer's department that says, Julie worked 40 hours this week, pay Julie 40 hours. And those 40 hours were you on a beach in Florida and not actually in that department, that is an inaccurate payroll. And every single payroll that's being processed, every single one is inaccurate. Every single one. So the longer we delay and we stall having an accurate timekeeping process, the more risk we're putting the county under.
I 100% agree with you, but I don't understand why we are taking action. The grievance, it's my understanding, and I'm not with the union, never been with the union, but that the grievance process is to support a contract that the county made with the employees of that union.
It's a management decision as to how timekeeping will
But
be
we
done.
don't-
But the
never got
contract
a
says an
legal opinion on
accurate
that.
daily record. There isn't an accurate daily record. And we stood right in this room with the forensic auditor telling the then board that every single timesheet, we are now 4 years in May into paper timesheets. We started May of 2020. Every single timesheet, and I mean every single timesheet from that department has an employee in at 8 o'clock, out at noon, back in at 1, out at 4. Whether they are there or whether they're on vacation in Florida, Indiana, whether they're out on a personal day. They used to do it for holidays also, and they finally at least started putting holiday pay in there. But then they will also submit, they won't submit to my office, but I have to request it for insurance purposes, where an employee is out and I have to submit it for insurance purposes to make sure they're insurable, where they've been out on personal vacation, sick, whatever. But yet you go to that timesheet and it says they were out there in the office from 8 to noon and 1 to 4. And I've said this before. You're out on vacation and you decide to clean your gutters and you fall off the ladder. You go to ER because you broke your arm. What's the very first thing they ask you in ER? What's the very first question? Is this work related? So then the insurance companies want to get into a fighting match over who's going to pay this claim. And we have a paper timesheet on file in the clerk's office that says employee Jones was at work. Oh, but they broke their arm. What insurance company is going to win?
I don't know.
What's the paper timesheet say that we're paying on?
But
I'm just saying.
I mean,
It's an inaccurate record.
respectfully, we can just agree to disagree. I don't think we should move, my personal opinion and my vote will be, I don't think we should move forward on the time clocks at this time.
So,
And Sheriff, if your employees are not getting paid and they honestly feel that they have not been paid, file a grievance. What is the point of paying union dues if you're not going to get your union to work for you? I don't get it.
Call
I
the
don't
Department of
understand
Labor.
it.
Let the Department of Labor come in and tell Shelby County what we're doing right and what we're
And
not
maybe
doing
when
right.
there's a bunch of
Then we'll
grievances,
get it right.
it'll throw up a red flag somewhere and something will get done.
so
No, we've
I
had
wanna-
grievances
I
15
wanna-
times. We need the Department of Labor to come in and say, your record keeping, whatever you're doing is right or not. We're gonna pay however much in fines, but maybe once we actually pay something, maybe we'll go, we really need to do this correctly. Because until the Department of Labor shows up, I don't think anything's gonna change because there's nobody.
So
Yeah.
let's get back to the grievance. If there aren't any time clocks in the health department and they're getting paid based off paper timesheets, what exactly again is it that they're grieving?
They don't want to use, they don't feel that, I believe the grievance is they don't feel that they should be required to use electronic timekeeping because their payroll has to be split through so many different ways.
They're not using
Now-
electronic timekeeping, so what is their grieve?
They don't want, because the board is saying that they have
But
to
the
use
electronic
it.
timekeeping doesn't split it up amongst grants. That's
not-
all done.
The paper timesheet
That's all
doesn't.
done manually
The paper
anyway.
timesheet doesn't split it up among
I
grants.
100%.
So there's
and this is what I
absolutely no
told Steve.
difference.
I 100% agree with you, but it's not my fight to fight. Let's get a legal opinion on it and then move forward from there.
Well, we had one, and then we had Debbie, and then we had the auditor, but nobody
But we
likes that
have
answer,
a
so we don't
person
move.
that is elected to give us legal opinions.
We had
So
one.
let's get her
but they didn't
legal
like that.
opinion.
She was terrible.
Let's,
Let me go back to your email.
Yeah, so just to conclude there, if there's a grievance, but the grievance is against something that's not being done, that really doesn't make sense to me. If we want to make the grievance legit, let's follow this
but the grievance has already been filed.
over nothing.
We can sit here and debate this until the
It's
middle
not
of
us to make that
Julie has a
decision.
vote, you have a vote, I have a vote, you have a vote to send it to the full board, and then every member on the board's gonna have a vote.
That's right.
We can sit here and debate this till we're blue in the face,
All right, so
Jeremy?
and
let's
just need to agree to disagree.
As a board member, can I say something? Because I'm a little bit familiar with
No.
the process.
Shut up. She just told you no.
All right.
You don't get to make that call.
I can't say something about this process.
I didn't say that. But I'm gonna tell you right now that this is the warning for the whole gallery. Nobody has told, no, I'm not aware of anybody that's told you to shut up. Don't tell anybody else to shut up. Okay? We can at least be civil.
Freedom of speech.
We can at least be civil.
Be civil? Are
and
you serious
respectful.
right now? You see the way you guys are talking to Julie and the sheriff? Are you kidding me? Be civil? Yeah.
Can I say something?
Practice what
though?
you
Go
preach.
ahead.
When you have a contract in place, as you do with ASCME and FOP, there is a process to negotiate changes in conditions of employment. And in implementing these time clocks, you've kind of put the cart before the horse. You've got negotiations coming up. Sit down with the union reps and work this crap out to where you don't have grievances for this. I'm just telling you this as a former business manager of a union. Conditions of employment are grievable, and that's what they're grieving.
We had an opinion at that time when we went to the electronic timekeeping from our state's attorney, who has a lot of background in
Okay,
labor,
guys,
and he
you don't want to hear
said
anything
it is
from
a
these guys
management.
here.
He said it's
She's
a
not
management
arguing with me.
decision.
Yeah.
I was
Why does she
speaking.
get to
Excuse
speak?
me. He said it was a management decision. Debbie Thompson has said the same thing, that it's not grievable. The auditors have said the same thing. The policy needs to be enforced. Whether you like him or not, he was your legal counsel, and we did this last November. And he said you all had a management right to do that. It was not grievable. And grievances are supposed to go in a process with a time restraint. If they filed this last November, shouldn't we be past that? Why is it not being heard? Why is it not moved forward?
I did not get a response yet to my email, as of yet.
I'm just saying you had a
Why,
legal
where that
opinion
grievance is.
from your legal counsel long before November, actually, because we implemented them in November, back when you voted to spend ARPA, which was probably September or October. You had a legal opinion from your legal counsel that said you were perfectly well within your right to do the time clocks.
So I'm gonna just move on through the email, because I don't think it's gonna do us any good to keep going back and forth on that. The next point, and she had a few, the next point, the timekeeping system should be the only payroll record, and if changes are needed, a consistent form should be developed for those changes submitted as soon as possible, so that corrections can be made on the subsequent payroll and kept on file for audits. Timing for payroll processing is critical. Having a consistent form for changes and getting things paid on time, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. That just makes sense. So, not seeing the need for discussion on that, I'd like to move on to the next one. Every department head is required to review all timekeeping entries, make adjustments, and sign off in the system for approval before submission by the deadline to assure accurate and timely paychecks to employees. Again, that seemed common sense. Is there anything to discuss that? Okay. Next one. I am aware that employees are unable to place their sick time in the timekeeping system. However, they should be placing only the amount of hours worked for each day. For example, if an employee works and leaves at noon, they should only be placing the number of hours actually worked for that day. The department head should be placing all time off in the system timely when the employee calls off or goes home sick from work, so it can flow to the timekeeping system along with the hours worked for that period. That also only makes sense. You get paid for the hours you work. If you go home early, you get paid sick time for the difference between that and what your schedule would have been.
The only thing I would like to add is they can request sick time off, so they do have some control. If they know they've got a doctor's appointment coming up, I mean, they can go in and request Thursday, half a day, full day, whatever, with those hours. The only time the department head should have to enter is if they leave work or call in that morning.
So they can schedule some sick
They can
time.
schedule it off, just like they can vacation, personal, or comp time.
That makes that.
And they're using that, they're utilizing it. I see it every day on the dashboard.
Her last bullet point, all time off should be submitted on time by employees to allow department heads to review and approve by the deadline imposed by the treasurer, who is responsible for all payroll processing. that was the end of these bullet points. As far as the policy itself is concerned, I had 3 things that I wanted to bring for discussion. One, I think there were 3.
Is that the policy?
Yeah, that's the policy. Okay. Number 1, payroll has to be in, according to what you do now. Is it Monday at noon? Has to be into your office?
When we had paper timesheets, the paper timesheets were supposed to be in my office by noon
On Monday.
on Monday, unless Monday was a holiday, then it was 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning. That very rarely happened. But with the electronic timekeeping, we have to go in, pull that time out of the timekeeping system into our payroll system. We're doing that. We've been giving them leeway till 2, but it should be, all time should be approved by noon.
So, like you said, if Monday's a holiday, you're given until 10.
10 o'clock on
On
Tuesday.
Tuesday. It's been as late as 2, you say. You've been giving them like a grace period until 2 to get that in.
Yeah, we didn't tell them that, but we did.
Okay. So
Still with a lot of time not approved.
if it's, what would be, has anybody been paid late because it's been noon, 1, 2 o'clock? Has that come
No,
up?
we've just had to either make a lot of adjustments or they don't get paid for the time, when department heads go in and try to make adjustments after we've pulled to the timekeeping system. I mean, they're getting paid for because we save a file. When we pull it in, it's everybody's time. And that's where then I'm getting the paper timesheets. And then they have to go into their own dashboard. The requirement in that office is they have to submit the paper timesheet, which they're using in Excel. And then they have to go in and pull their own dashboard and produce that. And then there's the timekeeping that we pull. So we have a minimum of 3 pieces of paper for one employee. And 9 times out of 10, those 3 documents are conflicting. And I'm not going through, we don't have time to go through and decipher, well, what was this, and then make a phone call or email, which one of these is correct, or try to compile the 3 into 1. Because then we're right back to paper timesheets where, and then it's blamed on my office because they're not paid. If it's not in the time, and Debbie says it right there in the next paragraph where you quit. It's not the treasurer's problem if the timekeeping is not in the timekeeping system.
Right.
Just like, and we'll get, we get their dashboards, and at the bottom they'll write, I had one that, oh my God, we spent an hour today trying to figure out one employee because they took 3 vacation days, wasn't in the timekeeping system, wasn't on their dashboard, but the paper sent over it was written at the bottom. But then if it's not in there as vacation, it screws up overtime. Holiday was in that pay period as well. It throws everything off when it's not entered. That's not my fault.
So let me ask, it's been a request made that the 10 o'clock on the Tuesday after a holiday simply be made something like noon instead of 10.
No, we have to have payroll to the bank by Wednesday, early afternoon. Here's the thing though, they can approve the time. They can approve the time up until
The last day of the.
the last day of the pay period.
They're going in daily.
If I'm an employee of that department and I'm a Monday through Friday employee, so the last day I'm working is Friday, and if I've approved all of my entries up until Friday, I can get on my dashboard at home over the weekend and I can go click and I can put my little check mark in there, and then my supervisor, whoever that is, somewhere throughout the 2-week period should already be approving all those times. We're saving it all until Monday and then saying we don't have time. But that's not exactly true, because I can pull a lot of employees out of that department who the employees have approved all of their time. Management has approved all of that time. But then I can pull some who, and we did it, I think I sent you a report on Friday to where we pulled Thursday afternoon, and I pulled the entire department, and I showed you, and had employees, had it all, management all, and then some with none. There's no excuse to be on a Friday, Thursday afternoon, Friday of a payroll with no approval whatsoever.
So-
But yet they can go into that dashboard and request time off. They can request time off, but while they're in there, they can't go click, 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 click.
So then you're saying if we made that 10 o'clock into noon, it could jeopardize some people getting paid on time?
It could jeopardize the whole county, because that file goes to the bank as a file.
Yeah, okay.
And if they don't have it ready by 2, I'm going in and I'm approving other, because we can't approve without, and then if someone wants to complain that somebody else approved, I have to pull it. I'm pulling it no later than 2 o'clock Monday afternoon. And now that we're collecting taxes and we have all of that, we've only got a certain amount of time with 2 employees. Like I said, I've already paid an employee overtime to come in and process on holiday. And the amount of time, and I'll be honest with you, it's gotten worse, not better. This payroll was probably the best because there was more cooperation, which we were able to get it processed this afternoon, check it, we'll get to the bank in the morning. But since November, then it got better, then it got way worse, and then on this payroll, all of a sudden, we're getting better.
Good.
Well, yeah, management 10 minutes a day, not even 10 minutes a day. It's just not hard. It's quick. If there's a problem, address it right then. And I've said to Brian, if I were running that department, this would be my policy. We have a holiday. I need to know 48 hours, within 48 hours of that holiday, if you want it as comped. If I don't hear from you, you're getting paid for it. End of story.
That brings up a point. Mr. Sheriff, are you able to implement an in-office policy like that would cover that and help smooth some of this out, this last minute stuff?
We could, yes.
Okay. Is there any reason why you wouldn't want to do that?
The holidays right now are being entered. I don't understand where we're late on those.
This was the
Yeah.
first payroll that they were
Let's
in.
not get back into
This
that.
is-
No, that can be worked through later.
Yeah, you
Well,
guys can work through
And you can
that.
set up policy things inside on that, and that's the supervisor's prerogative to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't need
okay.
to get into that back and forth again.
Another concern that was sent to me was that no time records be altered except by the appropriate office head or elected official. And I think the problem being addressed there was a change, alteration, amendment to some pay, and because that affects the payroll budget for that department head wanted to be able to approve of the change.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Be more specific.
Again, that's probably something we could do in an email, right? Is that something that we, as a committee, need to discuss?
Well, it could,
Oh, affect the overall policy?
yeah, it could be something put into the policy. Like, for example, if the treasurer's office notices a problem that needs fixed with a sheriff's department employee's timekeeping, then the sheriff needs to approve of the change. The treasurer's office doesn't just do it and it's
We don't
done.
just do it. We ask for all changes in writing and have emails, and we actually have a file saved where we're saving all those emails, because we don't go in and just change stuff. So that whole narrative needs to stop.
Did you not get the emails where?
Who has
it was made
administrative
very
access
clear
to do
that
the
they don't
changes? How many?
change- They don't alter.
My office does.
How many people though, actually? Because that's,
3 in my office.
okay, 3 people.
But only 2 of us get into the payroll system, but we don't get into the payroll system and make those changes unless it's requested.
got
And when they call and say, hey, can you change Susie Smith? We say, please put that in an email so that we cover our butt.
Yeah, and that's good.
So,
because that's what you
I mean, there is already a procedure along those lines. requesting it in email, and those are saved.
Okay. Is there any, a long time ago, we had a motion and a second to approve the policy. I think.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any change to the policy, any amendments that anyone wants to make? Is there any further discussion on the policy? Who made the motion and the second?
I believe I made the motion. Martha made the motion to send the timekeeping policies previously approved to the full board for approval. Jeremy seconded.
Okay. So as one last point of discussion, I'm going to point out Debbie Thompson is our HR consultant for CIRMA. CIRMA is Counties of Illinois Risk Management Agency. So they are trying to help us to lower our liability. And these, I had a phone call with Debbie. She was, by the way, she was awesome to talk to. I communicated to her my concern that when you have an HR, Department of Labor, she included the EOC in that, those things are often how people are treated. And when someone's treated well or poorly, it is a very conscious decision about how we do other people, about how we treat other people. And because it's a conscious decision and not like a safety issue, those issues, those lawsuits don't start small. They start very big and get bigger. That was kind of the language I used on my phone call with Debbie, and I believe she indicated an agreement with my assessment of that situation. So I don't know if that makes sense, but this is, if this becomes a problem, this is a pretty big deal. Okay? It starts big, it gets bigger. So I just wanted to convey what I got out of my conversation with her. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. We have 3 ayes. Edwards was the nay. Okay. On to item 7, discussion concerning the outsourcing of the payroll. The treasurer requested that I put this on the agenda, so if you would like to lead discussion.
I will not continue to process payroll the way it is. Putting my office in a position to be continually blamed
Looks like you need to release.
with no documentation. We stood right here, the forensic auditor stood right there and spoke to the board and said garbage in, garbage out. I can only produce a payroll based on what I have. I'm still getting garbage in. If garbage is out, not my fault. And I'm not going to continue to be put in a position to be bashed by the public, to be bashed by department heads, to be accused when this is what I pull in, this is what I see, this is what I pay. And it can go back to the county clerk's office where my understanding is statutorily supposed to be, or y'all can outsource it. Because maybe we'll comply with an outsourcing company when they say, we're not going to look at 100 paper timesheets and try to decipher what all this means. Maybe then everybody will decide we'll be compliant with an electronic system. And an outsourcing Paylocity, whoever you all want to go with, I couldn't care less. They're not going to take 15, 20 emails after they pull a timekeeping. They're going to be on a bigger crunch than we are to get those files back to the bank. So I don't care either way. I will not continue to process payroll without a system that protects myself and my employees. I won't. So take your pick. I don't care.
Any further discussion on the outsourcing of payroll?
I'm just going to say, it's time for people to put on their big kid pants. We're all adults. Do what needs to be done. I don't care who likes who. I don't care who doesn't like who. I work with people all day, every day. Some I absolutely love. Some I don't care for, but the job has to get done. It's what I get paid to do. These two have agreed to come together I think they're both big enough people to get this done and taken care of, and this item can be put to rest.
Yeah, if we can't fix the problems with this, then we need to look for another timekeeping system. I mean, outsourcing payroll after you do all this seems silly. It just seems like a big waste of money.
Well, an outsourced company is not going to take a printout from
So
a
you're
time
gonna have
clock.
You're gonna have the same problem
They're
if you
not, yeah,
outsource.
no outsourced
So
entity is
you're
going
not-
to
it's not gonna
manage
fix
that.
anything.
It's outsourcing.
In
is not gonna fix it.
2021, we had the same issue. Outsource, don't outsource. Erica, I mean, I was the only person on the board at that time. We had concerns then about outsourcing because we're putting employees' personal information out to an unvetted, whatever, company. We didn't know if we could do it statutorily. Was it a waste of money when we could do it in-house? I 100% understand what you're saying. You should not have to fix the payroll problems, nor should you be responsible for the payroll problems within the individual departments. Those department heads can manage it. I mean, and I say this because I work in a system that uses electronic timekeeping. So and we have hundreds, maybe even thousands of employees within our system. So I know it can be done. The fact of the matter is we have to get it done. So that's why I'm not comfortable at this time passing the payroll policy, only because I want to see everything working and running before we pass the policy. Now, I don't want to outsource the payroll. I want us to be able to support your office in doing payroll. So and by doing that, I feel the best way to do that is to help the department heads to understand the electronic timekeeping process. I don't think we need to outsource. I think we all need to, like Martha said, figure out a way to figure things out. And if it's, the first step is you sitting down with the sheriff to help him process payroll, then that's the first step. The next step will be getting him or whoever, I'm not putting you on the spot, Brian, I just know you have the biggest department that has issues. Getting whoever they need, whatever they need to make this work. So I am not in favor of outsourcing payroll.
I'm not either.
The timekeeping policy really isn't different than what we already had with paper. It's just a matter of getting it in the electronic timekeeping system.
No, and you shouldn't have to babysit it. The supervisors are responsible for their employees' time. And that's it. And at corrections, that was mandatory. Supervisors, that was their responsibility. Employee time was wrong. The supervisors are the one that got in trouble, not the employees.
And I will just say, I mean, I've had a few employees out of that department come to my office. They walk through their timekeeping. We show them like they think they're short because they've been told they're short by somebody. And we go through it and then they're like, oh, no, that's good, I'm whole, okay, and they walk out. But we also have, they've been told they have to create the paper timesheet. Then they have to pull their dashboard and then we pull, and I've had a few complaints and coming to mind that, we're forcing employees to double and triple enter their time. And they know it's causing a problem. They don't want it to cause a problem. And at some point, yes, supervisors are responsible for the final approval, but employees are also responsible to approve it.
Yeah, I'm not
And
saying
I
that
know
they don't have
some-
to do the work. I'm just
Yeah.
saying the supervisors are responsible for what goes to you.
If it's not all in. But at the same time, we have some employees who are approving every time. They look at it, yep, that's when I worked on that day, that's when I worked on that day, and then some aren't approving it at all. Where if the employee was approving their time, they would see that maybe something wasn't entered right, or, a punch in or punch out can be missed here or there, and they need. But if they're not even looking at their own time to go to their supervisor.
So then the supervisor needs to decide, is it a compliance issue or is it an understanding, education issue?
I even said to Brian, I named an employee by name and said, this employee clearly understands the system. Clearly understands the system. Everything's approved. Nice and neat and tidy. It pulls in. There's very little that we have to do for that employee. Utilize that employee.
In every department, not just the sheriff's department, in every department. Are they complying with the expectation Or do they not understand the expectation?
No, and in a lot of
And
other
so-
departments, we don't have the employee approved. We just, I mean, it's a clip.
The supervisor needs to be responsible to that employee for making sure they have what they need.
But we also don't have a lot of supervisor, and I will just say, I mean, yes, prior council, but I even spoke with Debbie about it. You've spoken about your timekeeping policy. One of my employees worked at a local bank and they used electronic timekeeping. And when they clicked on it and approved, that was basically an electronic signature that I am certifying
Right.
this time is right. You know, we have department heads who say, you know, that check mark will not be an electronic signature. But that's a part of what
I don't know
electronic
how this
timekeeping
system
is.
works, but our system says, by checking this box, it is your electronic signature that you approve that your time is correct.
I mean, and we've put it out there, I mean, we said it, and that's why we've requested it, you know, for approval. No different than printing the paper timesheet and having them sign their name at the bottom. Which again, I'll go back to, Julie, when employees and department heads are signing a timesheet that say, I was here 8 to 4 and, or 8 to noon and 1 to 4, and I was on vacation in Florida or off on a personal day, that's falsification of a record. That is a criminal felony. And I'm not, I mean, it is in
No, I
the world of
understand. There has to be a
records.
middle ground, but anyway, moving on, we're getting sidetracked again.
No, but I'm just saying that's how important it is. And I've tried to stress that, and we need that approval.
Okay. Moving on, we can approve the June legislative
Were we
committee.
just discussing the outsourcing?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it was
No
just
action.
on for discussion. I thought that was an important discussion to have. We can approve the minutes from the legislative committee meeting from June 4th. Those were sent out on June 4th. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
If I wasn't here, can I make the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
That's right. Yeah,
I mean, I've read the minutes, I can approve the minutes, but.
I'll second. Any discussion on the approval of the minutes? Do they reflect that Julie wasn't here?
Pretty sure.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Any update on anything for old business?
I'm just gonna, to the employee handbook, working with, again, Debbie Thompson, Serma HR consultant. She put a rough draft together. That rough draft's been viewed, sent back to her. So the next step is gonna be scheduling a meeting with all of the department heads, getting the draft to them for review, scheduling a meeting, and then coming together and going through that. Debbie intends to spearhead that meeting. She'll be kind of her show, and I believe she wants to invite Kelly, what's Kelly Murray? Kelly Murray, who is with, not only with CERMA, but she's also the director of IACBM. So I think having those two people kind of spearhead that and help lead that, we should be able to put together a very solid handbook for the county.
That'll be a meeting with the department heads.
The department heads, yes.
Okay. And that won't be a legislative committee meeting then?
No,
Okay.
I mean, that's not going to be that is not going to be an open meeting for the public to come sit and provide what they think should be in a handbook. That is going to be the department heads, the two ladies. I will be there because this is a project that I'm spearheading. If you want to be there as the chairman of the legislative, I mean, that's fine, but it's not going to be a meeting open to the public for everybody to.
No, it's business.
It's a business meeting, yes. It will not be an open meeting.
Okay. Any other old business to bring before the committee? Any new business to bring before the committee?
I am going to, I don't know if I want to put it on the agenda for this meeting or what, but I sent out an email to the full board about possibly turning off comments on the YouTube video during the live stream. I don't want to inhibit communication in any way. I mean, but people can still reach out to any board member via email or phone calls or whatever. But until we can provide, I feel like, a good explanation for all these glitches, I feel like the best course of action is to turn off the comments.
Nope.
Nope.
Open Meetings Act.
No, the meeting will still be live streamed.
And for
And the
people
meeting
that
will
are
still
at home and sick and can't attend a meeting?
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about shutting down videoing the,
You're cutting off their comments.
well, yes and no. People can still comment and communicate. Teresa, how many comments have you addressed from the YouTube video as a board member? How many times have you, as a board member, interacted with any of those comments? I have never.
Julie, you keep calling it glitches. This is the only time anybody's complained about the YouTube is when all the comments were gone after the dogs
That's what I'm
commented.
saying. And
So
my
you call it all these glitches. What are
Well, there was a
all
glitch
these?
when it cut off during public comment during another
When
time
it
in
was shut
the meeting.
off. Correct. Because
And
it quit recording. We were watching. We went back and looked, and it was shut off. The red light went off. Or
During the
red.
meeting?
Yes, because I was live and zoomed in on that camera and
Okay.
caught it went green from red.
But
That's
I
a
mean,
whole different
and the
thing.
board can disagree with me. I mean,
Shutting off
like I
comments to
said,
people's
it's
not
just, I'm putting it
not
out
the
there
answer.
that until we can provide a solid answer, I'm in favor of turning off the comments. It just, it doesn't have to prohibit anybody from reaching out to a board member. If you ask a question and it doesn't get answered, I mean, do you then follow up, does anybody then follow up with the board member?
I don't watch the
Because I've never received
I don't
an
look on there.
email for anything regarding something that happened during a meeting because they couldn't
So the
address
public should listen to public comment?
No. I'm not talking about public comment.
But there are people on there that comment back and forth, and they're having discussions on there.
But it's not our obligation to provide that
Well, no.
communication.
It's
It's our obligation to provide transparency of what's happening in the
You
meeting.
saw on Facebook what the last meeting, what happened. Because you commented on it, you provided, you got information. You
And
saw
so,
what the airport. So when you
I
shut off
don't want-
comments after the watchdogs commented, you're gonna be the one, people's gonna go after you now and wonder what you're trying to hide now.
I'm
that
not trying to
people
hide a
think-
single
Because people
thing.
are still thinking the dogs are behind the channel.
Well, that, they're
And
not.
they replied and said the only people that had access to get on that YouTube channel is a legislative meeting and my tech. That was in his email
The
that he
people
sent.
that are saying that the watchdogs are behind, have access to our YouTube channel, where is their proof?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Because
There's
people
none.
can make accusations.
Exactly.
I deal with
But
facts.
shut off
and what I know
comments
to be
from
true.
people after just that one glitch is gonna look
This
pretty
is
suspicious.
just a suggestion. It
I
doesn't
get
have
it.
to pass. I'm not gonna flip out if it doesn't pass. But until we can give a good reason of why the comments are not working properly, I mean,
It violates the Open Meetings Act.
no, it does
No, it
not.
So you guys are just.
And if you believe that, if you think that's very true, I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but you show me the proof that that's a violation of an OMA, and I will take back my words. I mean, respectfully, I'm saying this to you
I'll pull
respectfully.
that and show it to you.
Perfect.
Because they gotta have a two-way
No, they
with you
don't.
guys.
We don't even have to video the meetings. We do that as a service to the community.
No.
But we're not required,
Anyone can video it.
yeah.
They're not videotaping the city. They should.
So how do you get back to where the comments went, Julie?
I'm sorry.
The comments on there, that was everything was deleted until, from the meeting.
Let's
So
say,
we have
this-
not-
Ask a question on it?
let's save this discussion for public comment.
Okay.
Okay, can we save this discussion for public comment?
Definitely.
Okay. So was there any more new business? That was new
Sorry
business,
if
but
I
let's,
got off on track.
that was new business. Let's just save the discussion for public comment. I do have an item. On June 4th, I did reach out to the state attorney about 3 different things. And I got, she's going to get back to us on the closed session minutes, and I asked her and the clerk both about the statutorily required referendum to alter the size of the county board after the the next census, which is in 2030. I heard back from the state's attorney this afternoon that the clerk had given me all the information that I needed. I checked with the state's attorney to see if she had anything in addition. So we may entertain something like that next month. I just want to throw that out there as a possibility. Just that's all that is. So is there any further new business? Okay, hearing none, we will move to public comment. We'll open the floor.
Yeah, I have a question. So, I've got a couple notes here. I've been talking into my watch. So, if the department heads aren't doing their part with the electronic timekeeping correctly, that does not explain why the treasurer's office is incorrectly holding the IMRS to the point where employees are having not enough deducted one pay period and then have to make it up the next pay period. So if the treasurer's office can't do the job correctly and is refusing to do her job, as she just stated, find somebody else that will do the job. And for you guys to sit here and you pretty much made the sheriff say he would take training from her when Julie was trying to find somebody that would be a little bit more civil to the sheriff, because if she truly wanted to help the sheriff, this would have been done long in the last 7 months, not now. Not after his employees are not getting paid, and he has proof to show that his employees are not getting paid, and it's been brought to her multiple times and they still have not been paid. So you guys are going to make him go sit down with somebody that is so nasty and vile to 99% of the department heads in our county and try to train him. That is not fair to the sheriff. One bit. One bit. That's very, very disrespectful. So Julie, I hope you proceed with getting him the training that his department deserves, that his supervisors and management deserves, and not make him have to continue to go through what that office department over there has went through. Do you think it's fun for him to spend all the time he's doing trying to get his employees paid and have to listen to his employees complain? That's not fair to the employees, and it's sure the hell not fair to the sheriff.
No,
Do something about it, and do something the right way.
I mean, that's why they have union support. If they feel like they're being whatever, I mean, they pay dues for their union to represent them. They need to use that.
He's brought up at multiple meetings that his stuff is still not working. And you know what he was told one time, and I'm pretty sure it was Cody that said it. So call the company and ask them why it's not working. Is that his responsibility to call the place with the payroll and ask why it's not working? Is that him? He's not the one that implemented this and wanted this.
The system is working.
So, and then I'm going to go back on the audit thing. I do agree that you need to have somebody different in, because we haven't got any of our stuff back from the current auditors. Why would we continue to use somebody and pay somebody? Because I tell you what, in December, when the new board takes office, all this bullshit you guys are doing can easily be undone and redone. So what you're going to do is you're going to have the current auditor do an audit, and come December, when the new board decides they want to redo that, it's going to cost us again with a different auditor. Because if you think they're going to use the same auditor when this new board comes in, you're sadly mistaken. A lot's going to unfold when some of you are gone. Done.
I'm gonna go back on the camera thing and having whoever run the camera during the meetings. I've seen people struggle with that camera since it's been in place. And it's been not showing, and it was recording, and then the recordings had to be put out after the fact. So if you really want that to work right, you're gonna find somebody that knows how to run that camera and get everything connected so that the people can watch it correctly. I don't know if it's going now. I think it is from a text that I got and stuff. But two of you people sitting up there struggled with it to the point that it just recorded the one meeting that I can think of, and then it had to be put out. And as far as the comments and stuff that were deleted, I know nothing about that kind of stuff. But we're going on almost a month now. Somebody knows what happened to those comments. Yep. And I think everybody here that is a board member owes it to the people who elected them to be transparent. And I think
I
that
think I sent the email, didn't I send your?
you did, but I'm telling you, Julie, somebody knows
They do.
what happened to those comments.
You may not know.
I don't know. I know very little about it and stuff, but somebody knows, and they're not fessing up to what happened with it and stuff. One more thing.
She knows.
I got a text about the agenda for the meeting and the board members acting as board members and running the meeting. But Erica's sitting over there and having input into this meeting. She's no different than us sitting out here right now, as far as this meeting is concerned. And it's wrong that she can say whatever she wants, and then the sheriff he's the one with the problems, guys. He's got deputies that haven't been paid. You think this is funny, Erica? Because I find it not humorous at all when somebody is short on their paycheck for the third pay period and we're talking over $1,000. I don't think that's funny at all. If it had been my paycheck, I'd have been at your desk the day I got it, and you would have issued me a special check for the money that I was owed. It's not funny when you're messing with people's lives.
I'm not messing, Teresa, so stop the accusations. I've said garbage in, garbage out. I go based on what I have. And when I request documentation
I'm not
to
debating with her.
show...
This is my time.
Yeah, go for it.
But I think
And I was on the agenda.
It's my time.
Good.
Ms. Bain, you have the floor.
I think it's terrible when people come to work and don't get compensated for their work. These are working families. I know when I was working and raising a family, and all of you that have had children, you might live from paycheck to paycheck. It's unfair. It's totally unfair. And Julie, yes, the union needs to step up. I'm a strong union member, and what I say in here is because I know from my past. You change people's working conditions and it has to be negotiated. Those time clocks need to be negotiated, and you've got negotiations coming up. Sit there and shake your head. You've never been in a union, so you don't know what working
Yes, I
conditions
have been in a union. You don't know that I have been. I have been a member in a union.
Yeah, you must
So don't say what you don't know.
I've got the floor.
She has the floor for another minute.
I have the floor. So I'm just telling you to do it the right way. You've got the opportunity to do it the right way. Put it on your list and sit down at the table and talk to them. And as far as your handbooks, I think that that's wonderful, but I hope to God you're running those by the union too, and get their approval for what you're putting in those handbooks, because you might have more problems with that.
Is that all?
I'm mad now, so yes, I'm done.
Here.
Mark?
Yeah.
Oh, I got Mark first.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
So back to the YouTube thing. You're wanting to shut the comments off, and I don't know all the details on it, but apparently the comments were deleted or are gone, and it's being looked into. And so you want them shut off just until it's figured out?
I mean, preferably that's what I would like to see happen, just so that we avoid any more problems. But I mean, again, I would have to ask if we have the legal right to do that. I would send it to the state's attorney to get a legal opinion on it. And then it's a majority rules kind of vote. Just because it's my opinion or my thought doesn't mean that the whole board has to agree with me.
No, that's
I'm not going to be
okay, I guess.
upset, but that's one solution to how can we solve this problem. Let's temporarily, till we figure out what's going on with comments, turn the comments off. That's just one suggestion. If anybody has anything else, I'm fine with that too.
So the answer right now is until it's investigated, maybe we shut the comments off, so assumptions aren't made and people aren't upset over it. Okay, but it was okay for your board chairman to go make assumptions on multiple citizens lately.
I can't,
I don't
have any
I'm not
control over
asking you
anybody's
directly, I
social
just mean in
media.
general. You want to shut off the citizens, and I'm not judging, you're allowed to have your own
No, I'm not
idea.
trying to shut off any citizens.
Hold on.
People can always
She's
reach
got the
out.
floor.
You're right, I'm sorry, my apologies.
I'm not putting it directly onto you.
No, I get it, I
I'm
get
just
it.
clarifying that was the part of it. But we can't shut the comments off to the people because assumptions might be made on the board when it's totally fine for our chairman to make those assumptions. I don't care what your guys' opinion is of a FOIA that was sent recently, but it's not factual. It was an assumption made by, I assume, the treasurer and the chairman. I'm not sure who else was a part of the discussion. And then my name was blasted. Are those assumptions okay with you guys? Because you want to shut off the public's.
No,
But your chairman can. So let's address it.
yeah, it's the luxury.
Let's address it. Is it okay for your chairman to make an assumption on citizens,
On Facebook.
but you want to shut off the public to making assumptions on comments?
I'll wait till
Do
my
you
my
support your
5
chairman?
minutes.
Do you support your chairman?
I have no idea what you're talking about, so I can't, I
That's
mean,
okay, you already said you didn't see it on Facebook, but I know quite a few did. So do you support your chairman?
100%.
You think it's okay for him to go make assumptions on the citizens?
You guys make them all day, every day.
I will say this, Cindy, I don't think whoever or in whatever capacity, degrading or personally attacking is ever okay on social media and any situation. Anybody. If you feel attacked, I don't agree with that because I know how that feels. So I, in any capacity, do not believe that social media is the place to take up discussions or opinions about people.
And I respect you for that, and I appreciate that. But she directly told her no. When she asked politely earlier if she could just say something, she directly looked at her and said no. So then when she says something back, you get on to her. Now, maybe she finally said shut up, and I'm not saying whether it's appropriate or not, but if that's not appropriate, then her direct comment to her when she was being polite is inappropriate. So don't just address one person and ignore it when it's on your board. How does it look for leadership or your county or to your citizens? I mean, you guys don't appreciate assumptions. And I've been willing to say I make mistakes and I don't get things right, and I'm willing to admit it when I don't. But I don't see the same from most on the boards. I mean, Julie's always been respectful to me. There are a few that, we may not see the same way. We may not agree with the same things sometimes, but we're respectful of each other. And I have nothing bad to say on them. We may have a difference in views, whatever, but the behavior from some of the other ones isn't acceptable, and very clearly you know that because you were talking about lawsuits earlier. There's probably a reason you guys are talking about them. You guys are probably getting a little scared, right? Yeah. I mean, you're trying to tell the citizens that, we're going to shut you off for making assumptions, but it's acceptable for you guys too. And a few people spoke over me, so your timer may not be accurate there, but.
Yeah, I interject.
Are you guys okay with it to other people? Well, it wasn't just you, and I wasn't being rude, but, I mean, what do you have to say for it? It was fine for her to be rude. He was extremely polite earlier when he was talking, and he said he had 3 things to add to it, and you were letting him, and he gets through one, and Erica goes over him, and I understand some of Erica's side on the things. I'm not disagreeing with that, despite how rude she's been to me, but she's gonna laugh about it, but that's fine, because we can throw some of it out there. We can talk about the illegal checks and how that's acceptable for you, but nobody else can. And we want to talk about fraud earlier, but you wrote illegal checks.
I didn't
But
write
it's-
an illegal check. I have not written an illegal check, so stop making that
You said
accusation.
it. You said it. That came from your mouth.
Yeah, payroll checks, we paid $700,000 in payroll.
So
for
now
that.
you just said that you did.
Well, I thought you were talking about the $74,000 check to
You
Denise
didn't
Ambrosia.
hesitate on that, but he has employees that are missing 3 weeks worth of
He
checks.
just said, if employee time isn't right, it's on the supervisor. That's why we're sitting here tonight, because I'm sick and tired of not having accurate time. I can only pay based on what I'm given, but you all want to blame me
No, I
instead
understand
of
that,
holding
and I said I understand some of your
supervisors
sides of it.
accountable.
I wouldn't
So,
even said anything to you if you hadn't been sitting over there laughing and being rude.
Okay, so I did afford extra time. I appreciate all your comments. We're
But I didn't get any answers. I mean, I asked, do you?
They don't have to answer you, they won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they kept him off record, so I saw how they treated
Yeah,
him.
they don't.
He didn't get to finish anything, and he was being super polite.
what was your question? Which
Well,
one?
I asked earlier, do you support it? I mean, you guys are picking and choosing who gets to speak on record and who doesn't. You guys are picking and choosing when it's okay for the public to make accusations, but your board chairman can do it.
You talking about the comments on the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I'm going to use my public comment to clarify that before I get so.
No, it has no. It had nothing to do with that. It's just, I mean, clearly, you guys talk about things before you come into meetings, whether or not that one was or not, I don't care. The purpose is, we don't think that those assumptions are okay. But I see a lot of support from you guys on the assumptions made on Facebook. And again, Julie, it's not to you. I know you said you didn't see it, but you guys are supporting it. You guys are laughing at it. You guys are sharing things. You guys are sharing Edgar County watchdogs, and nobody can answer directly when I can point out facts to why something doesn't make sense that they said. It's okay for other people's names to have it on them, but it's never okay for you guys to.
So as far as the comments on the YouTube channel, I didn't know anything about it until Dave Woods had responded to an email. I think he said there was some kind of technological malfunction with the comments. So, no, I don't, if somebody went in there and intentionally deleted, then we have a bigger problem. I have no idea who that person would have been.
Well, I hope we investigated more than just one name, and we investigated what happened.
So the difference there is public comment is still open, obviously. And so the comments on the YouTube channel are not a public comment portion of the meeting as stated on the agenda as required by the Open Meetings Act. That's not the comments on the YouTube channel. What someone puts on their personal private social media page, they can absolutely do whatever they want. They can say what they want, they can insinuate, they can call names, they can tell the truth, they can lie. They can whatever, they can have statistics, whatever they want to put out there, they can do that. And I support their First Amendment right to do that.
So you don't support transparency and honesty? Because that's the agenda pushed all the time, but if you support them lying or making narratives, I mean,
I don't support them lying, I
that's
support
kind
their
of,
First Amendment right.
that's the opposite of, I support them having that, but then I support this wrong.
I don't understand what's wrong about trying to get to the bottom of the technological stuff.
I don't think anything's wrong with that.
Okay,
I didn't say that there was anything wrong with that part of it.
okay. Ms. Miller?
I'm just gonna feed a little bit off of what she said
I
about
had like 20 other notes, but
about the post that the chairman made, which you liked. Erica shared, you may have shared, I don't know. And it called the sheriff corrupt. It called the Secretary of State, or Secretary of State, the Supervisor of Assessments corrupt. The clerk corrupt. And you expect the sheriff to sit down with the person who supports calling him corrupt.
Yeah.
How can you expect that of him? Mr. Williams?
Oh, me specifically? That's part of why I said that
No, wait, I can't hear very well.
Sorry.
So can you speak up, please?
Yeah, sorry, that's why when we got to that part, I said, if they want, I will go sit down with them.
But you also supported the post.
Yeah.
So what good does that do for you to go sit down there? And I'm sorry, but I wouldn't want her anywhere near my office. And if I was the sheriff, I would strongly not allow her anywhere near my office after she supports calling him corrupt. And I wouldn't want any email communication with Ms. Fernhaber, with anybody, like Ms. Fernhaber, with you, with Bobby Orman, with anybody, Martha Fernhaber, because where's that going? It might go to Edgar County, possibly. Matter of fact, a long time ago, I sent a FOIA to Ms. Fernhaber when I first started coming, and I asked how many FOIAs the watchdogs had sent her office. There wasn't any. But she had sent stuff without a FOIA to the Edgar County Watchdogs. She just gave it to them. Now, she can do that. That's her prerogative. But, so if I don't need a FOIA, I could just call up and say, hey, I want April's thing. Because that's the treatment they got. They call up and say, we want this, this, or this. Or she thinks this is corruption and she's just sending it to them. I should be able to email and say, without a FOIA, I want April's report, May's report, or June's report. But if I was the sheriff, if I was the supervisor of assessments, if I was any of those people that were mentioned in that post by the board chair, I would cut total communication off immediately because you called them corrupt. And then I'm going to read something from a U.S. Code statute.
I just say real quick, I didn't get any FOIAs from that office yet.
You didn't get an answer?
I haven't gotten it either.
Okay, section 18 USC, section 241. I will say that an attorney sent me this after seeing the post. Section 241 makes it unlawful for two or more persons to agree to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in the United States in the free exercise, enjoyment of any right or privilege secured by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his or her having exercised such right. Now listen, this was sent from an attorney, and I called, and I asked a lot of questions over this. FOIA is the right to every single citizen, every citizen. The treasurer communicated with Mr. Orman her unhappiness with the FOIAs. Then she shared it, she tried to publicly shame us for sending FOIAs. We have an audit that's 14 months late. The public is not getting any questions answered on that very much at all. We have a letter coming from the auditor saying that balances, they had trouble matching balances in her office. So, and then every other department's being blamed for the lateness of the FOIA. But I've talked to a lot of department heads. They haven't sent anything in since last summer. What's the problem? And I'm done. You want to go ahead and come after me for a right that everybody can use? That's fine. Because I have steps I can take to make sure my rights and everybody else's rights are protected. And that is a federal law. You may know your state laws, but you better start brushing up on your federal laws.
He supports the Constitution, he said it.
What was that citation again?
What's that?
What was the citation again?
Well, why don't I give you what the watchdogs? Do your own research, Mr. Williams. You can find it yourself.
I'll watch the video.
That's good idea.
Anything else? Were you done, Ms. Miller?
What's that?
Was there anything else?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But yes, you should have never put him in a position. You did support that post, correct? She asked you if you supported the chairman, but you did support that post, correct? So are you going to say our sheriff is corrupt? I would like for you to answer that and Martha Fernhaber to answer that question. Is our sheriff corrupt?
I will answer that first. I talked to Sheriff Brown earlier on the phone, and I told him I do not believe he is corrupt.
But you like the post. So how can you believe you?
Trust is important.
Public comment, Carol.
I'm going to change the subject here. Was Charles the only person that you asked about for the camera?
I actually did not. He called me and he made the offer.
Because I think $45 is really, really steep, and I think we need to look into someone else. Surely $20, $25, somebody could set it up, take care of it for every meeting that needs to be recorded. Now, committee meetings don't have to be recorded, like somebody said, that's just a courtesy for the county. But for board meetings, for the regular board meetings, I think those need to be recorded. I just think we need to look into somebody that actually does video stuff. Maybe they're just looking for a little bit of extra money, and maybe they do it for 20 bucks an hour or whatever, I don't know. And I'd be glad to look into it.
Yeah, Jeremy, are we required to have time clocks, do you know? And will the health department be using a time clock? They say they won't be, one was purchased and sent to them and they sent it back. Do you have any opinion about if they might use one or they might not? The school doesn't use a time clock. Maybe someone should go talk to the school and tell them they're taking an awful chance with their insurance because they don't have a time clock. As far as I know, they don't have one. I don't believe the health department will be using one, but I guess we'll find out if we try to force them to. So as far as the audit goes, is there a time limit? I mean, can that be done next year or the year after? We've spent $45,000. I've seen copies of the checks, or I've seen the check numbers where we paid them $45,000. I'm in business, Jeremy. If I had given someone $45,000, I believe I would want some response as to how they were proceeding. I don't see any response. So are we going to set a time? I mean, do they have to have it done by Christmas or 2026? Or, I mean, is there any time that we won't complain? I mean, how long can they take? So we're going to take these auditors, they can't get anything done. They said they would have it done 14 months ago. And we're going to give them the audit to do. Where are they going to find the time? They can't finish the audit that was almost 2 years ago when that fiscal year finished. So why would we use them again? If I had these people auditing for me, they'd be long gone. If I paid someone $45,000 and they couldn't get any response, I'd be looking for someone else, and I would be looking for some reason why they didn't have to give me my money back if they couldn't come up with any result. As far as social media goes, I've been attacked numerous times by the Edgar County Watchdog. So I think most of us in here have. You guys have been attacked, and I don't see any big deal about it. You know, that's everyone's right to attack anyone they want to. I mean, you can say anything you want to. But you can't necessarily make accusations and say anything you want to. So we've had the Edgar County Watchdogs here for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. There's no conviction of anyone. Anyone that they've ever accused or said we're not responsible, there's no conviction.
They've been here 8 years.
So at what point do we stop listening to them? I mean, maybe they've convicted someone of something, but I'm not aware of it. I'm not saying they didn't, but we've proven no one wrong. Alan Spector, no one proved he did anything wrong in a court of law. No one's gone to a court of law and proved that we have to have a specific public purpose to farm. They haven't proven anything, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, why do we keep listening to them? I suppose there's a point. Maybe there's some point in listening to them, but when accusations are never true and nothing can be proven, pretty soon I just think they're full of shit. So, I don't know, are they running Shelby County? Or is our chairman running Shelby County? Is Erica running Shelby County? I don't know who's running the show, but I don't like the way it's been run, because we can't get an audit result. We're accusing people of doing things. We're talking about criminals and corruption, but no, we can't prove anything. Unless it's proven in a court of law, well, I took a civics class, unless it's proven in a court of law someone's guilty, they're innocent. Is that correct, sir? I mean, that's the way I understand it. I don't see anyone guilty. So after a while, you know, when no one could be proven guilty of anything, why would you pay any attention to that? I mean, I don't pay attention to Kirk Allen. I don't care what he says. He can make fun of me. It doesn't bother me any. I've been called names. People made fun of me before. I'm in business. I can't keep everyone happy. 95% of my business depends on repeat customers, so I surely don't treat everyone really horrible. We stayed in business for 53 years. I've been called an idiot. I don't think that's too bad of a record. We've had good years and we've had bad years, but we've always made a living every year. Because we've had to protect ourselves from what I think are these kind of people. You know, I've learned a lot in business about who I can trust and who I can't. A lot of people I won't take checks from. I can give a check to about anyone. But sometimes I don't take them from someone else. I don't send out any bills. Everything's paid for when it leaves. When we pick something up or it's delivered, we pay for it within 2 or 3 days. We keep an excellent reputation, by the way. I have a wonderful reputation in the Amish community. I don't understand why they have these fake people. I mean, I don't know where they come from, but they have these just absolutely fake people attacking us.
It boosted your business though.
Pardon?
It boosted your business.
Yeah, helping my business, that part's okay. It doesn't bother me that much because I get a lot of free advertising.
Time's up, Jake. Time's up.
Your time's up.
I'm glad business is booming, but time's up.
You let me talk a little extra, I appreciate it.
Public comment.
Yes.
Martha, did you have something?
Go ahead.
I have a question. We all know the audit's late. So what is being done to get it done? What's necessary? What are they doing?
That's probably a question for the contact point.
Because it keeps month after month after month. All we hear is it's not done, it's not done, it's not done, and things are missing.
So they just found out somewhat recently, and the chairman did send an email to the full board. The prior auditor, Weston Company, Wifley, did not audit 5 of the largest funds in the county.
Why?
You tell me why Wifley didn't do it. Tell me why the previous board didn't catch it. I can't answer that.
I wasn't on those things they couldn't catch.
Jake?
I wasn't on the board at that point. But we've talked about this for a long time, Karen. Every year the county has an audit done. Every year there are audit findings. Those findings need to be dealt with, and if they're not dealt with, then they usually reoccur and reoccur and reoccur. And that can has been kicked down the road and kicked down the road and kicked down the road. I've been coming to county board meetings for going on 6 years. I've sat in the meetings where the auditors have given the annual report. I've gotten copies of the audits and read the findings. And I've watched the boards do absolutely nothing, zero, not one thing to correct findings. This board fully intends, once we have that report, to correct the findings and to address them. The other part of the problem is when you have an auditor, any county, not just Shelby County, it is not the auditor's job to put our balance sheets and our income statements together. We are supposed to be doing that as a county. We are so decentralized. Health department does what they want to do. That department does what they want to do. That department does what they want to do. That one does. Everybody's doing what they want to do, and we don't have a centralized location where the records are being retained like we should have. It's been audit findings in years past that the decentralization of Shelby County creates a huge problem, and it absolutely opens the door for the risk of fraud.
Where's your facts of the problem?
Not your turn.
So they are doing, and I will tell you this, Wifley, we signed a 3-year contract with them with the ability for either party to pull out. After 2 years, they said, we're out of here.
1 year.
Or 1 year, I'm sorry. After 1 year, they said, we're done. This is way more work than we ever bid or priced for because you guys don't have your poo-poo together. And we don't have our poo-poo together. We have to get things centralized. All those records should be kept and retained in one place. That's the Treasurer's Department. Doesn't matter who's filling the treasurer's seat today. It's the way it should have been done for decades, and it hasn't been.
So what's being done now?
They're working on the audit. When they found out they had 5 funds, our largest fund, the general fund, the health department's a large fund. When they found out those hadn't been audited for 5 years, they have to gather information and audit those funds. We don't want an incomplete audit.
But they haven't been done for 5 years.
1 year.
2 years behind on this. What
They hadn't been done for 1 year. 5
5
funds hadn't been done for 1 year. Wifley did not do it the 1 year that Wifley was our accounting firm. I apologize for
Do you
having my
remember
5s.
what year that one was?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember what year that one was?
21.
We're working on 22.
And 23 is going to be a pain too because, again, everything was decentralized. So we've got to get that. I will tell you that I think the board's as anxious to get this audit so we can get to work on the findings to get things cleaned up, because the longer it goes and the longer we're as decentralized as we are with our information, it's that many future year audits that are going to be incredibly difficult to do. And at some point, if Shelby County doesn't get our stuff together, we're not going to find an accounting firm in the state that's going to take us on.
When we put it out for bid for this one,
We had one.
two,
Well, there were two, but the one's bid from last time was.
the prior, but then the second one, that was it. This last one was it. Weston Company walked out on us after 2 years, because they did 1 year and we fixed nothing, and then they said, we're done. These accounting firms are not going to put their licenses on the line because they're creating the very financial statements that they're turning around and auditing. Because we can't create financial statements in this county because all the financial information doesn't come through the treasurer's office. That was a huge issue in the summer of 2018 before I was even here. And that was the last audit that that firm over there did. But that firm could walk across the street, sit in this courthouse for 2 weeks, go to every department and compile the information. Weston Company wasn't doing that. Whitley, I don't even know what they were, that was, like they said, they didn't do half of it, but then when Bobby asked him when they presented the audit, he said, so you're saying every finding from the 20 audit has been fixed? And the guy said, yeah, I hadn't fixed a thing. They didn't even audit 5 accounts. And now this firm is like, we don't go to all the other departments. When we do an audit, we deal with the financial office, the financial department. They haven't been able to deal with it because I can't answer. I can't provide them financial information on numerous things in this county.
So how did they get it?
They had to go to the departments. And my understanding is some departments didn't cooperate and some still have not turned over the requested documentation. But they said for the 23 audit, they will not. It will come into the treasurer's office, and the treasurer's office will be responsible for putting it in the portal. So we're going to have a whole heck of a lot of work to do when all those departments have to go back to 23 and turn in that information, and then we have to compile it and get it prepared to go out.
So why haven't the departments been asked for any information?
They were, Jake. They were.
They haven't heard anything since last summer. I've talked to almost all of them.
Did our
No
board,
one touched it. You
did our
haven't
board
asked
go
them. All
to try
they haven't touched
and collect some of the information?
She got to talk all evening.
Didn't Bobby say, in the last board meeting, Bobby said he was going to send an email for a status of kind of where they're at ballpark?
Yeah.
So
My
we're still waiting
understanding is
for
we're
that?
supposed to have it by the end of this week.
Because that's really what you guys are wanting, correct? You're just wanting a status update of where they're at on the audit, correct?
It should be finished, period.
But they're compiling all of the information that they shouldn't have to do.
So do we have a time on it when they have to get it done, or can they just take forever?
Well, when we're asking them to do the work we should have done, I don't know how we put a timeline on it. Because they're not doing just an audit, they're compiling all the information and creating the very numbers that they're going to turn around and audit. Because we didn't
They
provide
didn't
it.
know what they were going to do before they came.
Jay,
Hey, you got all evening to talk.
it is actually still her public comment. It has, did that conclude your comment, or do you have more?
Martha answered the question.
Okay. Okay.
At least we know that there's something being done.
Yeah, and I agree, I want the audit done, I want those.
We all do.
We all
We all do. We all
Karen, I
want
want
that.
to add one more thing. This particular firm that we're using this year specializes in governmental accounting. They have at least one partner in that firm, if not multiple partners in that firm that have their MBAs in governmental accounting. I mean, it's what they do. When we've utilized other accounting firms, they may do some governmental entities, but they may do, Jake's Antiques. They may do, whatever. They may do your personal. This firm specializes in governmental accounting. And for the honest to God mess that we are, we should be thankful that we have an auditing firm that has that level of specialization. Again, to provide us findings that then is incumbent upon the board to address.
Julie, I believe you wanted to. Yes, you meant.
Jeremy?
I want to clarify real quick. When I said shut off the comments, I know that probably didn't come out right. So we have to determine what is a legal record with these meetings. Like what is legal? Like we can't delete our emails because that's a legal document. So what I was suggesting was until if these comments are actually being deleted, first of all, if someone comments on a YouTube video, does that become a public record legal document? I don't have the answer. These are the answers we need to find out. Second of all, if they are being deleted, then is that in a violation? Are you breaking the law by by deleting those comments? And I asked that of Dave, and I think Dave said, and Teresa, I think I sent you that email also. And then he sent a response, a pretty in-depth response to the full board, that he would look into the legality of that. I mean, I can send it and ask Ruth to look into that also. So what I'm suggesting is that temporarily, until we get some of these questions, it's only a suggestion rather than compromising ourselves by allowing a public record to be deleted. Rather, if we stop the comments temporarily till we know, then we're kind of avoiding a potential problem.
You can't
Now,
stop the comments.
I'm sorry?
You can't stop public comment.
I'm not talking about public comment. I'm talking about the comments on the YouTube video.
Okay.
So I don't want to create a problem that doesn't necessarily need to be a problem. So, and there's never a time when people cannot reach out to board members. Emails, phone calls, anytime. It's not in any way stifling the communication to the board, which is what we are legally obligated to do.
But if they
We
don't
are not
answer-
legally obligated to allow a road of communication between citizens. That is not our obligation. You have to be able to contact us as your representatives. We do not have to provide an outlet for you to contact one another. Now, I don't want to turn that off. I don't want to say that don't do it. But I want to make sure that we are not breaking some law by not keeping a public record. If those comments are somehow being deleted or somehow disappearing or whatever.
So it is being investigated?
Dave said he was going to look into what was going on. He sent an email to the full board saying that he was going to look into that.
So couldn't they have done the same with Cronky before her name was slandered through the town? Instead of investigating just her name, we could have done
I don't know.
investigation?
I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about, and I don't know. Are you talking about the
It's just
deleted
an open
emails?
comment because a lot know what I'm talking about, even if you don't.
No, if you're talking
Wasn't
about the
directed to
deleted
you.
emails, I think those emails were found is how we knew that they were deleted. Because we can't actually delete anything, can we? There's always a footprint, digital footprint.
Emails are backed up. Emails will
Yeah.
be backed up on a server level. There's no way you're gonna completely delete an email forever.
And there
So
were files
emails
that
are
were
different
on,
than
had to be
comments on a
brought in.
It's
YouTube
just-
video.
You just can't see it anymore on your own header on your own email. But there's a
Well-
server that keeps a copy of that forever.
For the email, yeah. But there were also missing files in our state's attorney's office that Coles County brought in. Were those files replaced with something else? I mean, it really wasn't intended to. It was just put on one woman's name, slandered her through town, pushed by many on our boards, and investigated on one woman. If you want to find out who did it, you investigate the whole thing. You investigate who did it, not one person's name. But that's what what most of the board has become is pushing the agenda or the narrative that Edgar County Watchdog says. It's not about finding out the truth or being transparent or anything like that. It's just put it on certain people and spread it through.
Well, I can't speak for the other board members, but there's a few that I've talked to, and most of us don't pay attention to the Edgar County Watchdogs.
And I know
I've been
some
on their
don't.
side.
That's why I said it's not.
I don't pay, and I don't, this is the first I've heard about anything that happened on YouTube or Facebook. I don't get on social media. I'm not a fan of it. I get on for family, kids' photos, and that's pretty much it. I don't make comments because exactly what's happening right here. The mud starts flying, and then pretty soon people are on each other, and they forget why they're even fighting each other. Everybody in this room has got the common goal to better this county. I'm new. I have not chosen a side. I see the sides. I see the groups here. But what I do see is everybody wanting the common goal to better the county.
I thought before when I started looking into this that it was maybe just difference in perspectives. Honestly, it looked like a bunch of adult children, arguing. But the deeper that I looked, the more that I realized that it's not. It's much deeper than that. It's people being put through wrongs for years, and they create health issues, things like that. I mean, it's much deeper. The more that you look, the more facts you look at, the more evidence you look at. And I respect what you're saying, but it's a lot deeper than just a difference in perspective. It's people showing zero consideration or care for others, and some that are public officials.
Well, some people get wronged and they can't let go of that. And part of the whole process is at some point, you've got to forgive and go on. You can't hold it forever. It's not going to be productive. You're not going to get over this. I see the same arguments going around just like the farm issue. You've had people talk about the farm issue being just related to this law that you can't have a farm. I know a lot of members that that's not what they voted on, selling the farm. Had nothing to do with that perspective. It was a perspective that we don't trust the county or the next board to not have corruption in the way that farm's run. It had nothing to do with that. Now whether it had corruption before or not, I don't know. I'm not saying it did. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if it's sold and you're making interest on it and you do something where that money's not used, there's not going to be corruption on that unless there's corruption with the way the money's spent. But I'm saying, going back to perspective, Jay. I'm just going back on perspective.
You just said you're not one way or the other. Now you're one way.
No, I'm saying that.
No, you're saying one way. You're going back to that stupid farm again. It's taken care of. Everything's been taken care of, and you're going to make money. Does anybody not understand that? It's free to everybody, and you're going to make money. Hello? I sit here.
It's not just about making money.
This is like a kindergarten.
It's not about making money.
Believe it or not, it's actually still Julie's time.
I'm sorry, Julie. You're fine.
I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't just turn off the comments and, be done with it. There's ongoing things, but I just want to make sure we're not deleting a public record.
Anything else?
I didn't make those.
Julie?
No, I'm good.
And I just want to say I respect both of you because you guys are willing to, answer questions and clarify things like that. But there's many times I speak to the board and they won't answer questions or they won't answer a direct question so I commend you both for being able to do that.
Public comment. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say that it's become abundantly clear that if you agree with what you want, then whoever up here is in agreement is great. And if somebody disagrees with your opinion, we're the bad guys, we're evil, we're this, that, and everything else. And the hypocrisy.
Are you speaking to someone directly? Or?
I'm speaking to the group. I'm speaking out loud. The hypocrisy of talking about the way one person treats another person when you tell me to shut up. You said
no,
you
could speak.
But I still acknowledged her, and it's Martha's fault.
You at the last county board meeting threatened to kick my ass on camera.
I don't.
Yes.
I went back and listened. That's not on there.
It's Martha's turn to speak.
She's directed things at me. She interrupts us.
Just stop. The attacks on the treasurer have gotten to the point where they are absolutely asininely ridiculous. When she took office in 2018, there was an eBay business being run out of that department. There was an employee that owed the county vacation time because she'd taken more time than what was earned. Erica told that employee, you have a sick mom, you need to take her to appointments, that's fine, I completely understand, you can have all the time you want. But once your vacation time is used, then you're gonna have to take it as unpaid time off. That's looking out for the taxpayer. The prior treasurer did not invest any funds in anything. It sat in a savings account, earning the lowest amount of interest possible. Erica started investing to earn more money for the taxpayers to have.
Oh, my.
And that, so, and you can shake your head no, and you can disagree, but we've got the records to show it. It's there. The eBay business was shut down. Y'all can be okay with somebody using county property for their own personal gain. If that's what you're okay with as a taxpayer, so be it. That's your call. But I, for one, as a taxpaying citizen, am absolutely not. The other thing I want to say about the Edgar County Watchdogs, they came into Shelby County not because of your treasurer. I can tell you when I was on city council, there were 2 employees of the city that point blank told me they contacted the Watchdogs. That's how they get started on things, is tips from people that are on the inside.
You know who the 2 were?
People, I'm not going to answer that. The Watchdogs keep who keep that kind of stuff anonymous, and I'm going to keep it anonymous. I can also say when I was on the city council and we had an audit done and there were findings, the city council took care of those findings. So we didn't have those issues over and over and over again. And this is the disrespect I'm talking about. We sit up here and we listen to you guys and we listen to everybody. But then as soon as somebody up here wants to talk, and actually not anybody other than me, people walk out, people talk over me. So you're hypocrite. You just proved my case. Thank you, Belina.
I know I am.
Martha has the floor.
So the hypocrisy of the way you talk about treating people, I think that's a reflection of you.
Exactly.
So,
I have one question just for you, Julie. I don't know if you're aware that legal counsel, as in Ruth, went to Erica and requested that she cut a check to the people that were short pay, the sheriff's office, after the first week, and she refused.
That is an outright lie. I was not in the office, and my employees called and said that she had been in. I called her office, she was on the phone, and I left a message with her assistant and asked her to call me because I was at the hospital with a dying friend. She didn't return my call. And I have asked numerous times for the documentation, not just when I first took office, my payroll was pay employee Jones X amount, pay employee Smith X amount. That's all I got. We didn't have time. I had no record, you can sit and shake your head, record. And I have told the sheriff, because I get an email, employee Jones is short X amount. I want the documentation where you think
It's kind
from
of
the
like the same
payroll.
time you refused to pay Ed Flynn. Look what that happened. Look where that got you. Got you real far, didn't it? Got our county real far,
I wasn't
right?
the only one. We had 5 board members that had requested a legal opinion from the then state's attorney, Gina, and didn't get it.
So once you do it right and make his, be right with his
His
employees.
employees are whole.
No, they're not.
Yes,
And you
they
know
are.
they're not.
Yes, they
They're
are.
a lying bitch sitting right here, right now.
Oh, that's it. I'm calling for adjournment right now.
I'm
We're not
leaving
doing
anyways.
this. We're not doing this.
I'm out of here
Jeremy, I'm
anyways.
calling for adjournment.
Ryan, I would like you to get the emails, because you have them where we have worked and we have sent back information to you, and I requested for documentation. And we don't have an employee that hasn't been paid for 3 weeks, for 3 payrolls.
Look, I have it with me tonight, but I thought we decided we weren't going to do this.
We're not. You guys can get together.
But you're lying to the public and you're making
I'm
these
not
people.
lying. I have
That
this-
right there. He doesn't understand the payroll system and even how to look at it. And the employees that have come in and thought they were short, and when we talk to them,
He's busy.
they've been shown
He's
that
got
they
to
are
windows
short.
and take care of the courthouse and try to save the town and the county. It's like, my God, just give him some more work.
If he doesn't want to do the payroll, then he shouldn't be in the
Payroll
sheriff's
is an
position.
obligation of the department.
That's right.
got a lot going on.
I called for adjournment.
Yeah,
We
so
have
does
it in my
mine.
office. Jeremy,
I have to call for public comment 3 times. Public comment,
I just have a couple
go
questions.
ahead.
Okay, so the Dave Woods on the comments, that was YouTube comments, right? Okay. Do you know who he's reaching out to?
I'm in what regard?
Who's he researching it with?
I believe he was gonna talk to the state's attorney about it, is that what our email said? I don't remember.
He's also the network administrator, Mike
Right.
is, and so he has access to that kind of stuff. And if somebody got in there and deleted comments, then he
So,
should be
and
able to
does he
find
have
out.
access to the credentials of the logins and like where it logged in from? I mean, he should have all that.
Oh, I'm sure,
He
yeah.
can have that.
Is anybody here aware that YouTube themselves can delete comments on
That's true.
complaints?
That's true, they actually.
It doesn't
No,
have to be the
I
administrator.
completely understand.
All I have to do is say, I don't like that comment, and I can get it
Let's-
deleted from,
Let's also understand, like I said, with the time clock system being down, there are technological malfunctions.
And
that
I don't
happen.
disagree with that, but I also expect that is going to happen again. And 3 days is a long time for if the office holders need to be checking on it. Like there needs to be a plan B. I don't know what that is, but it's something you have to address. I completely agree that the electronic time cards
we gave him 24
need
extra
to
hours.
happen, right? Paper things, I'm not disputing that.
do they have to pick the form they fill out for that, an emergency time?
On the time cards,
If it's not
I find it,
then they have to give that time to the department head.
hard to understand
That's
why.
the policy, you
She's
just
got
create a
the floor.
policy and then it has
You know
to.
what?
Yeah.
I think this is what, I've sat here and listened to you guys, and I think that was completely rude.
Sorry, I thought you were talking to Julie.
It doesn't matter. Everything you just complained about, you just did. So the rules are the same, and I respected you.
You have the floor.
As far as the time card keeping goes, like a plan, the training has got to occur for the sheriff's department. I find it unusual that we're 7 months out and like we're still having problems. I don't know where the problems are, but I just hope that we get the appropriate people in place to do their jobs and get that done. As far as the audit goes, just out of curiosity, when the office holders, do they send you like their end of month stuff?
Some.
Okay, and then do you take that information and then you compile your own financial report so that you know where we're at overall as a county?
If they turn it in, then yeah, we have a system that tracks it, or it's money that goes into their specific funds.
Right.
Everything doesn't just go into one.
I
You know, Jake
understand.
thinks we just got $20 million sitting in one bank account. We have 56 funds, 61 bank accounts.
That's not what I said. What I asked was at the end of the month when the office, because I'm trying to understand, when they close their month, and the offices that do provide you with information,
That's nice.
where do you take that information? Because I feel like
It
there are
goes into
fun-
the software system.
Okay.
It's entered.
And then, so if it's compiled there,
Not all of it is. That's what the problem is. Not every department is turning in that information.
so how do you know as a county, where do we set overall with our income and expenses?
That's why we don't have an audit, because we don't. I can't, my office cannot create a trial balance, a county trial balance, because I don't have all of the information.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, we
That's what I'm
don't,
asking.
I don't have it, and that's what they've said long before I was even in that office,
So
that all of
even
the
if you
county
don't have
funds
it-
need to be reported to the treasurer's office.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it in the 5.5 years I've been here, and it was an issue I know because Robin Yockey told me she was called out of other audits to go into Zoom calls with Shelby County before I was even in the office. Because Yockey, Mose, Lively, whatever name that was at the time, said the funds need to be run through the treasurer's office. And the department heads refused.
So how do you as a county board make financial decisions when you don't know where we are?
Can I address that?
Yes.
That's why we need a timekeeping policy. When I worked at corrections, we did this exact same thing that I was in charge of in the IT department. We did this same time clock deal. Brian, how many employees you say you have?
Approximately 30.
We had 11,000. Can you imagine your situation with 11,000?
I'm not specific.
Point being is, the fix for it was the policy, and the policy went to the supervisors. They would enforce it. If the employee did not do the timesheet, their pay was estimated from their salary base by whether they were marked by their supervisor there or not, and any time off or whatever that, or any overtime was calculated later.
Sure. And
Because
I
it's the only way you
don't
can do
disagree
it.
with you. I'm sorry, I didn't make it apparent that I switched to the financial statements. Like how do you guys confidently make good financial decisions not knowing?
So, Erica, what's our biggest budgeted item in the county? What's the number one largest budgeted item?
Payroll.
Well, it would payroll. That's why the timekeeping system is so, you're talking about financials, but timekeeping is a part of the financials. How do we know where we're at? How does any department head know where their budget is at, where they are to budget, if you don't have accurate timekeeping? And timekeeping, payroll is their number one largest budgeted item. But as to how do we know where we're at? We don't. That's the problem, Chrissy. We don't. And this board, the current board, will be hell-bent on getting the findings that we receive from the auditor reconciled. 100%.
Sure, and
100%. It hasn't happened for 40 plus years. It got ignored. This board keeps getting blamed and blamed and blamed.
Okay.
We just want to fix it.
Okay.
We want to fix
I think
it.
we all agree, that's what we want to do is fix
Yes.
it. But two, like how far do we let it go before we say, like, we have to have it? Because I'm reading that, like, maybe some of our grants could be in jeopardy because we don't have this audit done. Is that true, false?
I got another email from the state today. But part of that is because your departments that are receiving the grants are the ones not cooperating. I mean, I know and people don't like to hear, but we had a finding, Weston Company, the first year they did it, there was potential $90-some thousand in grant fraud that happened to be through the payroll system. Because we were not keeping accurate daily timesheets. Because we're, at that point we didn't even have timesheets. But what people also don't understand is we have the 56 funds. Like you're familiar with the circuit clerk's office. She collects all of the fees that she collects during the month. They bring checks down and we get, it's roughly 10 checks. And those are for different fees and those go into different funds. Some goes into some funds for the sheriff, some the state's attorney fund, some, so there's different funds that money gets put into. That whoever is over that fund determines that budget. The biggest budget is the general fund that then has all of our offices and our office budgets. So everything's not just pooled, where we've got $20 million that should be invested and should be drawing. I mean, we've got one bank account that's had $800 in it since the day I started because we're no longer doing solid waste and having the electronic recycling.
So I guess my question is, as a board, and you don't have to answer it because you don't probably have to answer it, but does it come to a point where we say we have to have a timeline? We need something done. If these guys can't produce it, do you go somewhere else? If you can even find somewhere else. Like, where do you draw the line? Where do you stop and say, this is not okay anymore?
I said we had a draft this week.
Yeah, we need to wait till we get that status from them, which is supposed to be coming this week.
And then collectively as a board, you guys can determine if that's okay or not. And
Well, we'll have to do something.
right.
Well, there's going to be some pretty hefty findings in it, and first everybody's going to have to swallow it, and then you have to get department heads to cooperate. Because I've watched, just like with a timekeeping policy or a credit card policy that people don't want to cooperate with, when the department heads say, you can't tell me how to run my department. But that's exactly what Debbie Thompson has said from CIRMA, who's our liability. That's exactly what...
I'm not here to hear rebuttals. I'm just here to try
No,
to
but I'm
understand.
saying that they said, and this auditor said, policy has to be enforced. And if we have department heads, some elected, some appointed, who don't think they have to follow a county policy that's put in place by the board, are they going to then, if the department head doesn't follow it, are they going to have their employees follow it? So then you have a whole bunch of county who don't want to follow policy, so then where does it stop? As an elected official, I have to follow policy. That's why I'm asking for a policy to help my office run. I'll just say too, to bringing somebody else in to start this process over, I mean, you've got, again, a firm that specializes in governmental accounting, not just an accounting firm that that dabbles in this, that, and that. You have a firm that specializes in governmental accounting, and they're struggling getting this all put together, all the pieces, all the parts, and everything that they need to do it. Again, they have to create financials that we should have created, and they should just be reviewing. But can you imagine bringing in a brand new firm to start this process over again from the ground up?
Another 2 years.
Not,
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know
that's not an option.
Is there something that the county can do to help them to expedite this? I mean, like,
I would answer that one. For this particular audit for 22 and the 23 audit, which obviously that's passed, the time period to audit has passed, the answer is no. Other than encourage departments to cooperate with the auditor and get them the information the auditor requests.
well, I have talked to county offices and they said they have not heard anything. They have submitted what they've needed to and they've not heard any communication since maybe last summer.
But the auditors are then compiling that and creating financial statements. They're creating financial statements that they're now in turn turning around and auditing, which isn't the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to supply the financial statements
Right.
for them to audit. We can't provide a financial statement because stuff's over there that person knows, that person knows, that person. It's not all out of one. We are going to have to compile that information in one office. It's statutory that it's a treasurer's office. Like me or hate me, I don't care. It's statutory that
Is that
it's
the
in.
expectation for 2023 then to compile that us as
It
a
will be
county?
a finding.
For 23, it's too late to do that.
No, it's not. They're
No, it's
going to
not.
have to compile. We're going to, the auditors have already told me they will not do another audit and compile it. Once we get the findings, then all these departments, that's why I said we're going to be busy because all of that information is going to have to be compiled in my office before it can then go to the auditors. Because they said,
So that's the
we
solution.
will deal with the financial office
For
and that's it.
2023.
For 23, that's the
So
solution.
2022, there's nothing additional we can do. We're waiting. Hopefully, we're going to ask for them to maybe expedite what they can.
I think to kind of sum up, there are some departments that are operating, I guess I want to say independently.
Sure.
And their finances aren't going through the financial office. And that makes it harder to go on the scavenger hunt to find all the information needed for an audit. We need to centralize all that in the financial office so the auditor doesn't have as much trouble, doesn't have to take as much time, and doesn't have to compile those documents. They can gather those documents and audit them instead of compiling and creating, then auditing.
And in fairness to all the departments, we did get an email from the audit company saying that he had some illness, there had been some illness in their agency. I mean, some of it, the delay had been on their end too. It's not strictly they're sitting around waiting, but like Martha said, it takes a specialized person that can do these type of audits. And so it's just been a cluster of things that have gotten this, which is not a good answer, but unfortunately that's the answer, that have put the audit behind. And also, we can't just go out and hire an audit company. Like, we have to put out a bid, and then we take the bids that, and the last time we bid out,
RFP.
yeah, we got 2 replies.
The very last time, one.
Was it one? See,
Because
that's what I
with
was
Whitley,
thinking.
there was Whitley and Benford,
Yeah.
and then when
We're
Whitley
not
backed out.
ideal, an ideal county, because we still have a forensic audit of $750,000 that we have not even blown the dust off of to try to fix. That was from before anybody was on this board. The time period was from 2015 to 2020, correct?
Yeah.
In the audit. So, I mean, if you're going to look in any capacity of business, if you're going to want to look at a job that you're going to potentially take on, are you going to want to bid on something that people don't comply with your requests? And the request is not, I'm not talking about paperwork, I'm talking about fix the problems that were pointed out to you before. I mean, this board, previous boards, all boards, whatever, we're not compliant with the auditors. I don't even know why we're so worried about the audit. We don't do anything about it.
I concern is because of the jeopardy of the county.
Sure,
The audit.
sure.
Of all the, everything that's going to trickle down.
I
because there's not
100%
one.
agree with you. But the problem is ongoing. It didn't just start in 2022. The problem
I didn't
is-
say that.
No, I understand. I'm just, it's hard to play catch up in 1 year of mismanagement for multiple years.
Decades.
We are where we are.
Yeah.
And it needs to be fixed
I
right now.
100% agree. So
That's all I have.
Well, I'll just cross our fingers that at the end of this week, we have a copy of a draft of the audit.
Let's hope.
Any last public comments? Public comment. Last call for public comment. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I still moved, I know.
Mr. Hannaford makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Keenan seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being
I have a
here.
question. I mean, how in the name of God do you get these people to figure out it's not my problem? Because that man was over there flat out freaking lying. Okay, so much. Yeah, but it's even department heads who just refuse to cooperate. We've been doing
You
this
have to
since
set
November.
policy.
That's why I asked and begged on bending knee.
And you'll never have a successful audit until that's done. I'm gonna say something.
I said way too long. Listen, regardless of what was said, I don't think that you were talking to me disrespectfully. We were having a conversation.
It's their narrative.
We were having.
It's their narrative.
Adults can agree to disagree. I didn't take any of that personally.
We were having debate. That's what we did.
Yeah.
I mean, you know I love you. You know
Yeah.
you're my sister. You know I'd do
Yes.
anything for you.
Right.
I know that. But for them to constantly attack us when they're the ones that are doing the attacking
I get it.
is
I just want you to know
just
that.
over the top
I don't
ridiculous.
take that, I didn't take
No,
it personally.
we were having debate. And here's the thing, you and I could sit here and debate this for 5 days straight. I'm not gonna change your opinion on it, and you're not gonna, and I don't wanna change your opinion. You're entitled to yours, and I'm entitled to mine.
Yes.
The problem with some of these people in this public, we're not entitled to an opinion if it's different than theirs. It's just like Sadie pointing out to you and Doug, you guys were great, you answered my question. I answered everything that Karen Canada asked me.
Yeah,
Everything.
I get that.
But I'm the bad guy. I mean, it,
I totally understand.
but for Belina Bame to call somebody a lying bitch is out of line.